Welcome in, everybody, to the rant with me, Pugs Moran, live from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful south side of Chicago. Okay. All right. I need to be more dialed in. I got a little distracted there. All right, Maddie. All right, come on. Oh, only if it's important during the show. I keep my text messages on. I try to keep everything else off during the show. The phone ringer and all that kind of stuff. I keep the text messages on for people who have my phone number in the chat room, like in April or I don't think April's gotta get my number because she's important too. Adam, I know Adam hits me up. Maddie hits me up. If I forget to turn the mic on, then you text. All right, I'm just kidding. I'm just breaking Maddie's balls. I just literally hung up the phone with her. Just so, all right. She's gonna come on today. She's got some fun stuff. We're gonna talk about Elvis. She's got some cool Elvis stories. We're also probably gonna talk about this story. Have you heard this story about the cornhole champion who has no arms or legs and then murdered his buddy the other day? Yeah, I don't know how that happens. We got video of him doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and I think Maddie and I are going to talk about that as well. But yesterday, I was talking to Maddie post show, as she acts as a consultant / producer / contributor to this daily rant. She mentioned something about, she said to me, and this is funny. She said, have you ever been to Graceland? And I'm like, oh, well, let me tell you, multiple times. So we're going to talk a little bit about Graceland. Now, those of you who know me, you know what that means. You know. So we'll talk about that. There's some story that she wants to share with us about the Elvis thing. She also just said to me, because I know, she's like, so here's what I want to do. I want to mention this and blah, 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 because I know you're a big Elvis fan. And I'm like, no, I am not an Elvis fan. I am an Elvis truther. I don't see it. Like I don't get why. There's three people, right? I always mention the great American frauds. The great American frauds, people who were put up on a pedestal and we were all told, bow down to them for they are greatness. And I've always been, I don't get the appeal of any of these people. Elvis is not chief among them, but he's there. Elvis, I never got his appeal. It was like, okay, it's the very first day of rock and roll. We just need somebody. He'll do. And everybody went, we love it. I mean, I don't know. It just feels like he didn't write songs. He wasn't an artist. He was a good-looking guy who could barely play guitar and had a moderate singing voice. And all of a sudden, he's a god. He's not Paul McCartney. I mean, he's not Prince. It's not Michael Jackson. Anyway, so there you go. That's my Elvis trutherisms. The other two that I always like to mention are Bob Hope. The hell is Bob Hope? Are you a stand-up comic? Because how about some jokes? What? Bob Hope, I never got what he was. Was he an actor? He was in movies, made a lot of movies, but was he an actor? I mean, Laurence Olivier was an actor. Was Bob Hope an actor? I don't know what the hell Bob Hope did. Bob Hope, mediocre as he is, he was mediocre in everything, many things. He could dance a little, right? He wasn't a singer, but they let him sing. I don't understand the iconic stature of Bob Hope or Elvis. The other one that I always like to rant on is Marilyn Monroe. I don't get her. I'm a horny guy. I like chicks. She's okay. She's pretty cute. If, that was my friend's girlfriend, I'd be like, dude, your girlfriend's pretty cute. But Marilyn Monroe elevated to like these Mount Rushmore of hot chicks? I don't think so. I certainly don't think so, because Marilyn Monroe existed at the same time as Sophia Loren, Audrey Hepburn, Anne Margaret, just women who were so much hotter. I don't know. All right, so there you have it. So those are my frauds. It's Elvis Presley, Bob Hope, and Marilyn Monroe. Three American icons that I just don't understand how they were ascended to that place. We'll talk with Maddie today after the 2 o'clock hour, I think. I think that's what I told her. All right. I do want to start today's show. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. We don't do a lot of war coverage here because, as I tell you, there are plenty of places you can go to find much more informed war coverage than here. What you'll get from me is war reaction, right? I'm not really going to give you any insights, probably, other than just, my regular everyday working man insights that I've been sharing with you every day around about noon since 2021. But there is some stuff we got to talk about in the Iran war today. We got to, because yesterday I showed you a nice little video. Look, I'm stupid, and I think you people understand this at this point. So there are so many moving parts when it comes to what's happening in Iran between Israel and Iran and us and Hezbollah and Hamas, and you got all these other Arab states now getting attacked, and they're starting to mobilize, and there's a lot going on. So yesterday I showed you a nice little graphic that kind of explained the Straits of Hormuz to us. And I found it really, really helpful. So today, knowing or building on what we learned yesterday, today we're gonna talk about this deal that is out there, this supposed deal to end the war or ceasefire, or we don't even call it a war. So we are going to talk about that. What else are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about, hold on. What other things do I have? Oh, here's something. Yeah. We're going to talk about a couple of, there are a couple of new, and I say new, and there will always be more because, well, it's been decided that we as a people love conspiracy theories now. Love it. I mean, there was a time when if you were a conspiracy theorist, you were completely marginalized in normal society. Now you're celebrated. Now you're celebrated and you're put on TV, or you're Alex Jones and you have millions and millions of dollars. Do you remember the Mel Gibson movie, Conspiracy Theory, where he was a mentally unstable conspiracy theorist? That's what we thought but he was right. See, the point of that movie, maybe that movie was the problem. He turned out to be right. See, two things going on at once there. He was nutty buckets at the highest order, but also he was right, I think, about, I don't know. It's a Mel Gibson movie. Okay, so speaking of movies, before we get started, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff we're going to get into today. Before we get started, I do want to tell you about something that I did last night. I watched a movie. I watched a movie that I had heard about 2 years ago when it was in production. I remember hearing about this movie and forgot about it as we do, I want to see that show, and then like the show comes on Netflix 5 years later and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I wanted to see this. So there was a movie like that. And it popped up on, one of the streaming services. I'm not even sure which one. And when I saw it last night, when I saw it there offered to me as an option, I went, oh, wow. And I'll tell you, when you think there's nothing to watch and then you stumble across something that you've wanted to watch but totally forgot about, and then here it is, that's a good moment. Celebrate those moments. Those are the kinds of dopamine hits that, I live for. I don't need to be scrolling TikTok for endless dopamine hits. I'm like, oh, I wanted to see that. And I feel good. So I found this movie last night and I watched it. And, it is fantastic. I mean, I don't know if it's for everybody because, no car chases, no gratuitous nude scenes, no wacky high school party scene. It's just a really deep character study. And it consists of characters, actors, performers who I really like, a director who, man, can we talk about Bradley Cooper for a second? Can we? Because I just watched his latest directorial offering. Yeah, Bradley Cooper, one of the cool, and he is one of the coolest actors out there. One of the coolest A-list Academy Award winning leading man actors. Easily one of the 5 most bankable A-list male actors in Hollywood is Bradley Cooper at the moment. And he's decided he's going to start directing. Apparently, he ain't just a pretty face. Apparently, he's got a little something. He's doing those like Grubhub commercials where he's really funny, and he's just awesome. He is great. And although I did not like his film Maestro, that was the Leonard Bernstein movie. Remember, it was so boring, but whatever, he won an Oscar for, playing the sniper. And they let him make a movie. And it was a passion project. And it was about Leonard Bernstein. It was boring and nobody saw it. Star is Born, however, was amazing. That's a good movie. That's a good Bradley Cooper. So Bradley Cooper's got a new movie out. And it stars Will Arnett. Will Arnett, Job from Arrested Development, if you're familiar with that. Now, Will Arnett, I have always, from the moment I saw him as Job on Arrested Development, and then you go back and you see him on The Sopranos. He had a couple of stories, a couple of arcs on The Sopranos in season, I don't know, 3 or 4 or something like that. He played, Will Arnett plays, if you remember the storyline from The Sopranos, where Adriana is being recruited by the FBI. They're following her. In one of the ways that they trip her up is that they introduce a new friend, like a hot New Jersey. She's like a New Jersey girl who approaches Adriana while Adriana is shopping for lingerie, and they hit it off because they're the same kind of, Jersey Shore club whore. They're just like, yeah, we're best friends. And she was an FBI agent. Remember her? I think her name was Danielle. Her name was Danielle. And remember, we don't need to go through Soprano stuff. But anyway, the character of Danielle, the FBI agent who was posing as a friend of Adriana's, her husband in Sopranos was Will Arnett. And Will Arnett, this was before Arrested Development, I think. And Will Arnett was not doing comedy. He was playing as a straight guy. And it was interesting. It's interesting to say. I've always thought that Will Arnett has something. I love his podcast. His podcast with Jason Bateman and Sean Hayes. Fantastic. So this is a dramatic role for Will Arnett, directed by Bradley Cooper. The subject matter is a middle-aged man is going through a divorce, and he decides that, his new hobby is going to be stand-up comedy. It's called Is This Thing On? And it's terrific. If you are of the soul and mind to welcome this kind of story. I mean, it'll make you cry. It'll make you think, it's a real good movie. And hardly anyone will ever see it, but it's really good. Let me show you the trailer for it. I don't know if you've seen it. It is available right now on, I'm not even sure what it's on, but you can find it. It's called Is This Thing On? Directed by Bradley. This movie was at the theaters, but I guess nothing that's in theaters ever gets any attention anymore, right? So I guess it went to the theaters and it came and it left and whatever. But man, if this is the kind of thing that will appeal to you, and you'll know when you're watching it, you'll be like, oh yeah, nah, that ain't for me. Or you'll know, oh yeah, that might be for me. If you say, yeah, this might be for me, you're going to love this movie. This movie is really, really good. Here it is.
$15 cover.
To get a drink?
Hey.
Yeah.
How come she didn't have to pay $15?
She signed up for the open mic.
Look at me. I kind of look like the guy who tells you the Ferris wheel doesn't work at the amusement park.
I gotta date better men. My ex wouldn't let me touch his...
Can I just point out, Adam's like, comedians I like trashed it. It's not a comedy movie. It's a movie about a man going through a midlife crisis, and he turns to open mics. It's not a fucking comedy movie. Comedians so fun. First of all, dude, never listen to comedians. They are the most duplicitous people on the planet. This is not a movie for comedians. It just happens to be set with the back. You know what? Maybe they should have just made him a fucking podcaster. I don't know. Maybe he could have just did a podcast instead of comedy, and then comedians would have been like, yeah, it's not for me. Comedians are broken, soulless vampires, Adam, okay? Of course, this movie wasn't explicitly about them and their struggles, so they probably went, comedians don't have a home life. Okay, thank you, Adam. Love you. Back to the movie. We're going to start it again because Adam ruined it.
$15 cover.
To get a drink?
Hey.
Yeah.
How come she didn't have to pay $15?
She signed up for the open mic.
Look at me. I kind of look like the guy who tells you the Ferris wheel doesn't work at the amusement park.
I gotta date better men. My ex wouldn't let me touch his Magic the Gathering cards.
I'm gonna shake it up tonight. So let's put your hands together for Alex Novak.
I think I'm getting a divorce. What tipped me off was that I'm living in an apartment on my own, and my wife and kids don't live there. That was probably the biggest clue.
What is the problem?
I don't know. It's complicated.
You don't have to tell me that.
I guess we just slowly grew away from each other.
You two have always been very different.
And you and Dad are twins?
Your father is an immigrant to this country.
I know that.
And I've always been a woman who wants the taste of the exotic.
Jesus, Mom.
Why are you doing stand-up?
Getting a divorce.
You cheated.
No.
You didn't cheat and you get a divorce? Oh, that's some white guy shit.
I've been doing stand-up. This is like a hobby. Well, I'm not about to quit my job and go on tour. It's just it's something I look forward to.
Hey, listen, do you mind if I drop them off here for a couple hours?
Don't ambush me like this in front of the boys. You suck.
You suck.
Give it up for me. I'm doing great. I'm paying rent on a shitty apartment and mortgage for a house that I don't even live in anymore.
So I'm the only one who doesn't know about this?
I have goals this year I want to achieve. Do you have goals, Dad?
Oh, of course I do.
You knew I was struggling. You left me alone.
I left you alone? You checked out?
I was unhappy in our marriage. I wasn't unhappy with our marriage. Man, I wish I had a punchline.
What I like about you is you're so innocent. You're not naive, you're innocent.
You are good. I mean, you're bad at stand-up, but you're good. You have a good heart.
You people all suck. You know what that movie is? That movie is, you people loved that awful Scarlett Johansson, Adam Driver marriage movie that we all had to watch during the pandemic. Remember that? It was like, oh, let's all re-examine our marriage. That thing was lame. This is essentially that same sort of story or process that we've seen done theatrically in film over the years. I mean, begins with War of the Roses, right? Not War of the Roses. Sorry. Days of Wine and Roses. That's a good one. That's a good one about a dissolving marriage. Anyway, I loved that movie last night. And it was a surprise because I didn't think there was anything to watch. And I found it. And I really don't give a shit about Adam or some other comedian who's like, it wasn't about me. Yeah, I was up for it. I was supposed to get a cameo sitting at one of the tables during the comedy scenes, but they cut me. So fuck that movie. I'm a comedian, and this is how I think. Stop it. Never listen to the opinion of a comedian. Not when they're not on stage with a microphone and with 2-drink minimum, in the middle of. I say. All right. What is all this wet leg talk? Barney says, oh, wow, I like this. Barney says, my wife has been thinking about doing some open mics. Let me weigh in on this. I think that's fucking awesome. I think that is terrific. That's one of the scariest and at the same time coolest things that you can do. Because after you do it, you feel awesome because it's not nearly as scary as you build it up in your head. It's actually exhilarating. So that is awesome, Barney. That is really cool, man. I like that. Good. I wouldn't. Well, see, now this is where we get into some Barney situations. I don't know. Do you like a mouthy woman, Barney? Because she can be up there with some opinions. And I imagine living with Barney means that she's got a lot of material. Just saying. Just saying, Barney. Beware encouraging your wife to get up on stage and be a comedian. Just look at Roseanne. I mean, sure, 2 divorces later and she was a TV icon, but it all fell apart after that. And nobody remembers Roseanne's first husband. Bryce, what's this? Yep, that's why it got nominated for Academy Awards. And is this thing on? Didn't I? Okay. No, you're right, madam. You're right. That's programming. Yeah. Because no good movie has ever not been nominated. No good movie has ever been completely overlooked for an Academy Award before. No. But Adam, because Adam likes to argue, Adam will use that even though he knows that that's not a true argument, because there are plenty of films who were completely ignored by the Academy that are now considered, that are now like in the American Film Institute for great films. So, you can stow that response. All right. Let's see. What do we have here? Let's say hi to the chat room. Let's say I haven't done that yet today. So let me go. Let me give my awards to. Who do I see first? Taranda's who gets in here first. Hi, Taranda. Then I got Peter. Then I got Maddie. Then I got KB. I got to move it down. Make it more. Jen is here. Jen, didn't want to miss you. You were hidden there in between a conversation between, it looks like, Maddie and Peter. Okay. And then we get into all the Adam nonsense where he's just trying to rattle my cage, which is fine. That's fine by me. All right, let's get started today. Let's talk about what's going on in Iran. Now, I don't cover the Iran war much because, as I like to tell you, there's plenty of shit going on, or plenty of offerings and content, cable news, experts, former generals, all this stuff that you can get somewhere else. I am not going to give you any sort of insight that you can't hear anywhere else. I don't know dick all about the Middle East. I know what I've been exposed to over the past, 50 some odd years of my life, but I'm not a Middle East expert. I mean, I'm one of those guys who thinks, can't we just nuke them? Right? And then I order another round and we move on. That's pretty much my level of understanding of Middle East nuance, right? So you can go somewhere else and you can get that. What we do here is what I do is I react. I react to what I'm seeing. I react to what I'm seeing as somebody who thinks, I've got a good heart. I think I've got a good mind. I'm not particularly, again, well educated in these subjects, but we're decent people. Decent people have a right to say something. And what I'm going to say now is that I have no clue what is going on. We're not even calling have we decided what it is? It's a war, right? It sure looks like a war. It sure looks like we sent and did things and blew stuff up. Okay, so let's call it the war, because we've all sort of settled on that. Whether or not Congress ever got to rubber stamp that or not doesn't really matter. Calling it a war. The U.S. Yesterday, the U.S. had compiled a 15-point peace proposal. Okay, so the U.S. Look, we covered this yesterday when I showed you the video, the Iranian propaganda video of what exactly, hey, America, just so you know, your president's lying to you. And this is exactly what's happening here. And they showed us about how the tankers are being, backed up in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran is basically in control of this bottleneck. It is like, what this is like? I heard this from a general. For people who don't understand why America can't just go and take over the Strait of Hormuz, an American retired general last night on television described it thusly. He said it's like the movie, or it's like, what did we say? The movie 300, I think he was referencing. What was that Spartan battle? Spartan battle where it was like just was that Thermopylae? The small little passage? And like there were 1 million Athenian soldiers and only like 2 Spartans, and like the 2 Spartan, I know it was more than that, but they were severely outnumbered, but the Spartans were able to defend this place. That's kind of the same thing that's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran knows this, and Trump never really thought about it before, and people told him, Mr. President, this is, generals, Mr. President, this is going to be a quagmire. This is not something that's going to be easy, because no matter how much you destroy Tehran, they will then just take over the Strait of Hormuz, and they will put a chokehold on the world's economy. And the president said, fire the woke generals. So, here we are. So the world's economy is tanking. Oil is not moving. Gas prices are surging. On top of, by the way, it's not like prices weren't going up before this war. So the economy is really in the shitter globally. And there's pressure from everyone on Trump. Trump is finding out that, the way he acted, the big time boss man, hey, Greenland, fuck you, Canada. You guys are gay in France. That guy now needs people to back him up, because he's getting jumped on the front lawn and ain't nobody coming to help, because he's been a dick and because this was all unnecessary. Now, again, let me put a flag in that, because on the opening days of it, I was like, yeah, regime change. Let's get rid of these fuckers. Let's get rid of these guys. Regime change. That's what I wanted. I wanted the end of radical Islamic fundamentalism in Iran. That's what I wanted. Everybody else has cleaned up their act, or at least we forced them to clean up their act. Iran is still the troublemakers in the region. So regime change is incredibly important. Now, I thought we could accomplish this with, heavy air bombardments, some missiles, and then a coalition of Arab forces who recognized that the entire region would thrive if there was simply an absence of the terror funding state Iran. That hasn't really happened. There's rumors that that might still happen, but that hasn't happened. And as far as regime change goes, Trump is now sending 15-point plans to these people, negotiating with these people. And when questioned about it, Mr. President, you say regime change, but you're negotiating with them. The president said, well, we killed them. We killed them all. And then new people took their place. And we killed them all. And now there's new people there. And now we're talking to them. That's regime change. We changed. We've killed that is not regime change. Okay, that is a very con man sales guy. Well, if you look at the contract right here, if you see right here in the small print, that is what he is doing in this moment. That is not regime change. They're not going to have democratic elections. Okay, they are still a radical fundamentalist state. Okay, that needs to go, Mr. Trump. But because the world's economy is struggling right now and everybody is fucking pissed at this guy, he's trying to find a way out. So he declared, we've all heard it. We're going to talk a little bit about it. He declared victory. And while at the same time, he is sending a 15-point peace proposal to Iran. All right, we need to end this. Only because he understands that he's gotten himself into a situation that he didn't think was going to play out this way, regardless of the people who he was surrounded himself. He's like Elvis. We're going to talk about Elvis later. He surrounded himself with like Sonny and the rest of the Memphis Mafia. And they all just went, yeah, King Man, you should just kill Iran. And of course, all the experts, all the guys who have been there for 20 years, AKA the woke generals. Because, all them woke generals are wearing fucking panties. Yeah, those guys aren't around with any expertise. So now we're stuck. And gas prices are going up and Trump's pretending like it's over. Yeah, that's it. It's over. So we get to the 15-point peace proposal, which was sent to Iran through intermediaries, Pakistan. Pakistan delivered this 15-point peace proposal to the Islamic Republic. It says here, highlighting the urgency. Here's what the proposal has been leaked to say. Proposal highlighted the urgency within Trump's administration to resolve a conflict it started alongside Israel almost a month ago. All right, so there's some desperation on the part of the Americans to get Iran to sign a peace proposal so that Trump can go, we won, and move on, right? Because this really didn't work out the way he intended. And guess what the Iranians are doing? No, my friend. No, my friend. Sorry. So the peace proposal was sent. Here's the development this morning. Iran on Wednesday dismissed an American plan to pause the war in the Middle East, issuing its own counterproposal instead as it launched more attacks on Israel and Gulf Arab countries. Trump thinks he can make radical fundamentalists cry uncle and quit. They don't care. Blow up their cities. Blow up their downtown. They don't give a shit. These people will fight you from the hillsides for the next 100 years. Which is why you need an Arab coalition of brothers to come, other people in the region. It can't be the infidel from the West. They will fight to the death. So Iran on Wednesday dismissed the 15-point proposal, which is just so interesting. It says here, 2 officials from Pakistan described the 15-point U.S. proposal broadly, saying that it addressed sanctions relief, a rollback of Iran's nuclear program, limits on missiles, and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, through which 1/5 of the world's oil is shipped. Okay, so that's what the American proposal was. The American proposal was basically, all right, we're going to give you some sanction relief, all right? You know how you guys have been suffering under the sanctions? Although suffering, they seem, I don't know. These sanctions were supposedly the things, over the course of 20, 30 years that were going to, bring the Islamic regime down to its knees. That hasn't worked. I saw people protesting in Iran a couple months ago, and they all had cell phones, and they looked like pretty. I don't know. All right, so America wants. Here's what we said. We're like, okay, so here's the thing. We'll give you some sanction relief. Very, very. We want you to. Wait, where is it? Hold on, I gotta find it. I lost my place. We're gonna We'll give you some sanction relief, all right? And then we need you to roll back your nuclear program like they did with the Obama deal. Trump's like, can we go back to the Obama deal? Okay, so rollback of Iran's nuclear program. Because remember, their program was being rolled back and monitored until Trump would tear up that agreement. And they went, okay, my friend, we'll just start making shit again. Not because the deal wasn't keeping a volatile regime in the region in check. No, because the deal was done by Obama. And he had spent like months or years going, everything Obama did is bad. So now Trump wants the Obama deal back. Now he wants to roll back on their nuclear program. He wants not advisors, but what do they call it? The reporters or whomever. UN eyewitnesses. I can't believe I can't think of the word I'm trying to find. I don't know what word it is. All right, so we're gonna give you some sanction relief. We're going to remember the pallets of money. Obama sent pallets of money. Sanction relief. Roll back on the nuclear program. Obama deal. This is what we're asking for. And we're declaring victory, and we're saying, okay, Iran, we won. You need to agree to this. That's how it's being presented. This war is nowhere near over, man. This war is nowhere near over, and they've got Trump over a barrel, and they understand that the longer they fuck up the Strait of Hormuz, the more pressure domestically is going to fall on MAGA and this president, and people are going to get mad. This is the game the Iranians are playing, and Trump is panicking. Because for the first time in his life, being Fred Trump's boy didn't make everybody quiver in fear. I mean, at what point is he just going to drop a nuke? That's what he'll do. He's like, okay, fine, drop a nuke. I mean, and then he'll live with that. No, I dropped a nuke. Just killed a bunch of people because my feelings were hurt, because I made a terrible decision, because I fired all the woke generals. Woke generals. You people are fucking weird. Woke generals. Okay. So it was, so the American plan said, we're going to give you some sanction relief. You're going to roll back your nuclear program. We're going to limit the amount of missiles that you can make, and you're going to reopen the Straits of Hormuz. No, my friend. No, my friend. They sent it back. Iran issued its own plan via state TV, which includes so here's what Iran said. Iran said, no, my friend. No. Here's what we want. Here's what we want, Mr. President. Here's what we want. They want you will stop killing us. You will stop. You'll stop with everything. You, the instigator, you will stop killing us. That is what Iran says. They demanded a halt to the killings of its officials. Oh, you will stop killing our leaders. There's been no regime change, my friend. You will stop killing our leaders. Apparently, they don't give a fuck about the people in the street. People in the street. Iran demanded a halt to killings of its officials. They need to create a means. Iran is demanding that U.S. create a means to make sure no other war is waged against Iran's regime. So basically, Iran wants them to say, we're sorry, we won't do it again. Yeah, Trump will do that. This is not a broken country. This is not a country that's like, please, you're killing my people. This is a country that's like, we are going to live in holes for the next 20 years, my friend. We're going to live in holes in the mountains. We will shoot down. We are going to blow up shopping malls in Dayton for the next 30 years, my friend. This is what you have done. All right. Stop the killings, Iran wants. Iran's like, you got to stop the killings. You got to make sure no other wars wage against us. Oh, and you got to give us reparations. You got to pay for all this shit. My friend. Where are you going, my friend? You do not pay for that. That is what they're doing. Got to pay for everything. You got to pay for everything. Look at all this damage you did. You got to pay for all of that, they're saying. Yeah, that's, yeah. Voters in Iowa are going to be all for that. That ain't going to work. We ain't paying for any shit, all right? We're sorry. It wasn't me. I didn't vote for this guy, all right? You know, hopefully a couple of years down the line, well, we live, we learn. America will never elect another idiot again. Well, we probably will. I mean, just looking at the Democrats, the slate of Democrats, the next president of the United States is going to come from that wing. And I got to be honest with you, I ain't all that encouraged. All right. Iran says, stop the killings. Promise to never wage war against us. Give us reparations for what you've done. End the hostilities overall. And and here's the big one. Iran says, hey, yeah, also, you've never done this before, but we need you to officially recognize our sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz, bitch. That's what Iran is asking for. They want to be given the Strait of Hormuz, like outright, declare that it's ours. It's our sovereign area. They want that. They'll never get that. All right, so that's where we are. Trump yesterday said the war was won, and there's some real good movement on the peace plan. Jesus, he sounds like a developer talking to investors about some permits that are being held up in county court. Stop it, man! It's not going well. We won, he said. Iran issued its own plan on state TV, which includes a halt to the killings to its officials, means to make no more war against its regime, reparations for this war, the end of hostilities, and Iran's now exercise of sovereignty over the Straits of Hormuz. So those are those demands. The death tolls from the war has now risen to 1,500 people in Iran, over 1,000 people in Lebanon, 16 in Israel, and 13 U.S. military members, as well as a number of civilians on land and sea in the Gulf region. Millions of people in Lebanon and Iran have been displaced. All right. That's where we are. We offered a peace deal. A couple of days ago, Trump's like, we've been talking to Iran. And people were like, you're talking to Iran? That's news. That's big news. And then Iran said, we ain't talking to him. And then everybody's like, Trump lied. And then other countries, and now we've got Pakistan stepping up. Other countries were like, no. What he meant was, we are talking to Iran for him. He is not picking up the phone and calling the son of the guy he just killed and going, hey, let's talk. That is not what's going on. But again, that was an example of the media looking to be petty and jump on absolutely everything that the maniac in chief has or does. You don't have to pick on everything, man. Okay. All right. Because that one, he wasn't wrong. He just was being a little bit inartful in the way that he said, we're talking to Iran. Pakistan was. Intermediaries were. And it turns out that this is what they were talking about. And yesterday, Trump declared that the war is over. In the Oval Office, he said the war is over. And more importantly, he said that we won. This was yesterday. Now we know that that's not the case because this morning we wake up and we hear that Iran is like, no, give us money in the Straits and you can have peace, motherfucker. All right. So we know that the war is not over, at least not from their side. Now, Trump is a guy. Now, remember, Trump is a man who has never earned anything in his life. Victories are not earned. He was given everything and, at least set up incredibly well, before venturing into an endeavor. So he's never earned anything. People give him peace prizes. He's like, I want a peace prize. And they won't give him one. So somebody steps up, the chick from Venezuela, and goes, here, have my peace prize. He's like, thanks. Look at me, daddy. I want a peace. No, see, nothing is earned. Because he has the mentality of this group of people who we coddle, this mentality that nothing needs to be earned for them. They're given everything. We must earn things by pledging our fealty to the God class. So nothing is earned. So of course he's just going to go, okay, people are getting mad at me about gas prices. So war's over, we won. We're going to stop. When we stop bombing, the war is over. That's basically his whole thing, right? This dude was born on third base and walks around like he hit a triple. And now he's acting like he's going to steal home. Well, he's going to be thrown out badly. Here is Richard Engel. I thought this was interesting. Richard Engel is actually in Tel Aviv. He's on top of a building there. This is within minutes of Trump announcing that the war is over. Remember from the Oval Office, he said the war is over. We won. Time to go home. Nothing to see here. So here is Richard Engel at the same time that Trump was basically saying the war is over. And Richard Engel mentions it.
It is unusual for a president, a commander-in-chief, to declare victory in a war that is still ongoing, but that is exactly what President Trump has just done.
You know, I don't like to say this. We've won this. This war has been won. Militarily, they are dead. Yeah.
And as he was speaking, this is what we were filming here in Tel Aviv. That's an Iranian cluster bomb exploding over Tel Aviv. So this war not only is far from being won, it is not yet over.
All right, that's Tel Aviv.
It is unusual.
You know, like I said, that is Trump needing to talk to the investors in the strip mall project about why they're a week behind schedule because there's some permits that Trump forgot to sign. That's what this is. What are you worried about? Is that what you're worried about? It's in the process. Yeah, I talked to my guy a couple of minutes ago. He said it'd be done by tomorrow. Worst case scenario, end of business Friday. We'll get it done. There's nothing to worry about. We won. So they can't do anything. There's nothing that they can do. The permits, I sent the permits in. It's just going through the bureaucracy. It's not a problem. We won. It's over. It's over. They won. And then the next day, the permits get denied. Like, Iran saying, no, my friend. You give us money, you pay for all the shit you broke, my friend. You lost your shit in the beer cooler, my friend. You are paying for all that beer. And not to mention the chips that you trampled on, those strip chips, man. I can't sell those chips, man. Those chips are garbage, man. I can't sell chips. We're dealing with people we don't understand. And Trump thinks he understands everybody because Trump exists in a world and sees us through a lens that tells him that we are less than him. And the more you resist that, the more of a victim you will be. But maybe that's okay. Maybe you love living inside the matrix. Oh my God, look at me. Red pill in this shit. I need some water. Here's another thing that needs to be mentioned. This is a big story. I don't like the petty shit. You know, like the Trump going, yeah, we're talking to him, and then media going, hey, Iran, is he talking to you? And Iran going, we're not talking to him. And then, go, Trump lied again. That's just petty bullshit, man. That's just little petty shit. We know he lies. Okay. All right. Again, stop. We know he lies. All of these things, when we bite on them, when we bite on the petty bullshit, Maddie, Maddie loves the petty bullshit. When we bite on the petty bullshit, the real shit is allowed to happen in broad daylight. And nobody says anything because it's more fun to talk about how he said something mean. He said something mean to people. He's a mean person. Meanwhile, crazy shit is going on. Do you know the story? The story that's today. This is not. I thought it was a one-off thing. I thought it was bullshit. I saw it circulating yesterday. I'm like, oh well, here's more anti-Trump crazy left. Because look, the left is getting crazy too. The left is putting bullshit out there, stuff that is made up, simply designed to make Trump look bad, or to at least create this environment where Trump is a complete clown show. I don't think you need to work that hard to do that, but apparently for some people they need it on the nose. So I thought that's what this was. I thought this was just bullshit. Did a little due diligence. It turns out this is a very real thing to the extent that people around the world, other governments, okay, it's not just, this is why I say I enjoy watching Sky News and BBC News. I enjoy watching their coverage of all of this because they are not Republicans or Democrats. Everything isn't whataboutism. Yes, but what about? It's not that. It's just normal, seemingly educated and informed global citizens watching what's happening in America and going, that's fucking weird, right? I mean, that's what I get from watching it. And there are governments around the world who are commenting on these kinds of stories and nobody's paying attention to it. So what is this story? Somebody in the minutes before the war started made almost $1 billion in oil purchases, knowing that the price was going to skyrocket in 15 minutes. Somebody made, now I want you to see this. This is the shit that we need to pay attention to. This is the stuff that's going to wind a lot of people up in jail. If we get, you didn't get Al Capone for all the shit that he was doing that people talked about, the bootleg, the rum running, the prostitution. You didn't get him for any of that. You got him on tax evasion. You got him on the bullshit. The white collar bullshit. Well, look at this. This is a real story, folks. This happened. Watch.
But here's the curious thing, and here's kind of where the mystery is. I want to kind of zoom.
Again, American media isn't really hammering this, okay? This was a couple of days ago. Europe was already going, hey, time out. Whoa, what is this? Now, if you think this is just some crazy libtard, right, or some anti-Trump guy, no. He's an English guy working for Bloomberg. This is a global content. This is not designed for partisan Americans. This is global Bloomberg business content. Watch.
But here's the curious thing, and here's kind of where the mystery is. I want to kind of zoom in on this area here. So I'll kind of zoom in so you can see. This is just the volumes of people going into that oil market.
All right, what we're talking about, we're going to be focusing on is this spike right here, this almost $1 billion spike. I think it was like 600 million, something like that. We're going to focus on this spike right here that occurred at 10:48. Okay. All right. Now, obviously, something happened here that caused the price of oil to spike. Something happened here. Oil prices, the legit oil dealers, they were like, oil is what oil does. Oil is what oil does. Oil is what oil does. Oil is what. Boom! Somebody made a whole lot of money. Oil is as oil does. War. Somebody had insider information and made an absolute mint because they knew that. So who did this? I mean, it couldn't possibly be anybody in Trump's orbit. It couldn't possibly. They're not that kind of people. Don Jr., Barron, or anybody. I mean, I'm not necessarily, it doesn't have to be, but it's somebody inside that world very close. So let's watch, all right? Let's let him break it down and I'll shut up.
On this area here, so I'll kind of zoom in so you can see. This is just the volumes of people going into that oil market and kind of, for the most part, selling after that Donald Trump post. You can see there's this real spike in activity. A lot of people going in there, kind of this frenzy. And that's the kind of flip side of prices. But look at this. 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, there was a very big amount of trading volume. Very big. In fact, actually, when you're looking at that amount of volume, that spike, that was the biggest trading volume that we saw that day. We're starting here just at 8 o'clock in the morning. We're going through to that moment of the Donald Trump post. Relatively quiet volumes, not much going on in the market, and then all of a sudden that. And if you're wondering, okay, maybe this was just a one-off, it was someone who made a lucky bet, have a look not just at this. So this is WTI, it's one measure, the US measure of oil. Have a look at Brent, which is the kind of the European, seen as the international measure of oil. Again, the same thing. Donald Trump makes his post, flurry of activity, lots of people there. But look at that. Again, 15 minutes before that Donald Trump post, a very big trade. Now, it's unclear whether it's just an individual or whether it's a kind of group of people. But what you do know from just imputing what the potential value, the notional value of those trades just on oil would be, it is staggering amounts of money, life-changing amounts of money, $580 million. Someone has just made a real killing on this. And it's not just oil. So that oil.
All right. There you have it. He seemed like a hysterical, screaming anti-Trump libtard, didn't he? He didn't just seem like some British money guy who has no horse in anything other than money, money, money. Here, where is... I thought I had something else. I have video from the floor that I can't find now. Someone made a killing on oil. We played that, right? Richard Engel, we played that. Where is the man? I'm sorry, guys. I'm missing something. I'm missing. There was a guy. There were members of British Parliament yesterday who were screaming about this Right? I mean, this again, not Democrats or Republicans, members of British Parliament who are going, somebody in America is making money off of what they're about to do. They were calling outright corruption. Now I can't find that anywhere. I'm so angry. Well, maybe, you know what? Here, let's see. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it this way. Maybe it's in my Google history, right? Hold on. Just give me a second because I wanted to show that. I thought it was important. All right. Oh, maybe this is it. All right. Is this it here? Boy. It is. Yeah, see, if you just keep your cool and don't panic and don't rage that I can't believe I misplaced it. You just stay calm. You'll probably find it. All right, hold on. All right, so this is
so that people can see your business here. See it here and see it here.
Isn't that great? It says I can skip the ad, but it won't let me skip the ad.
Just before President
All right, so we just heard the guy from Bloomberg talking about this obvious corruption that is going on right out in the open, and nobody seems to be putting a stop to it. We heard that guy, the guy from Bloomberg. This is Ed Davey. He is an MP. He's a member of parliament there, so kind of like one of our congressmen, but he's not Democrat. He's not Republican. He's not anti-Trump because he's a libtard from California. He's anti-Trump because he sees that Trump is a fucking con man. All right, let's watch this. This is what they're saying over there in Parliament. So when anybody tries to tell you that they're going to respect us again and they all love us, this is what they think of us.
Mr. Speaker, just before President Trump posted about his supposed negotiations with Iran on Monday, traders made hundreds of millions of dollars of extra bets on oil futures. This looks like Donald Trump giving his mates insider information so they can make themselves richer while his illegal war in
This is the shit that's gonna bring him down. This is the shit. Nobody cares about him being mean to brown people who are maybe in this country illegally. Nobody gives a shit about whether or not he tries to, ruin Iran. Nobody really cares about the Straits of Hormuz. They care about, but the other stuff, let him go be an asshole. This is the stuff that other rich people get mad about. Rich people that are not inside Trump's little rich people clan, they will take that fucking clan down. They have no problem going against their own. And that's what's happening now. Other rich people, the guy on Bloomberg going, this is fucking unfair. And now you got this guy, neither a Republican or a Democrat, neither a member of any sort of American political ideology. This guy is just pissed that this is happening so blatantly.
Iran makes everyone else poorer. This looks like corruption of the very worst kind.
Obvious kind.
Share my fear that Trump is making his war decisions based on what enriches himself and his friends rather than what makes peace in the Middle East.
Prime Minister. Well, can I thank him for his verdict? At least he's read the law that she obviously hasn't read.
All right, so now here's Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer. By the way, you hear not a lot, zero support for Trump in this parliament. Usually, if somebody says one thing in Parliament, there is a chorus of people from the other point of view who will be like, no. That's their whole vibe. This guy's up here going, this is corruption. This is not a single person is jeering. Everybody is like, okay, finish. So now Keir Starmer, the prime minister, must answer for this. And it's funny because if you watched any of the SNL UK stuff that I posted there on Twitter or Facebook, Pugs Moran on Twitter and Facebook and all that, if you watched any of it, the cold open of SNL UK, the very first thing that SNL UK put on the air on Saturday was a cold open representation of 10 Downing Street, Keir Starmer in the Prime Minister's office, completely having an anxiety attack about needing to call Donald Trump to tell him that the British Navy will not support him in the Straits of Hormuz. All right, that's the premise. The premise of the cold open was that Keir Starmer has to call Donald and tell him we're not going to help you in Iran. The way it was played was that Keir Starmer is like horrified by Donald Trump, yet pretends to love him, like calls him out with that. I just, I'm so hard to talk to. That wonderful, wonderful, mean, scary, evil man, right? I mean, that's sort of the way they're playing Keir Starmer as a guy who can't say yes to Trump and all the things that he wants, but desperately still wants to be Trump's friend and ally because, well, the whole balance of shit depends on a good and special partnership between the United States and England. So here now is Keir Starmer, who's been accused of carrying water for Trump. Here's Keir Starmer answering this member of parliament's call for an investigation into this obvious corruption from the Trump administration.
But Mr. Speaker, in relation to the traders, we've seen the activity there. What I can say is that all of my decisions are based in the best interests of our country, and that's why I've decided that we will not get dragged into the war, unlike the leader of the opposition.
Okay, that's not what it's about, right? It's about what this member of parliament wants Keir Starmer to do is answer to how suspicious these trades look. And, he's accusing straight up Trump of corruption. That's what he wants the prime minister to respond to. And the prime minister is like, well, we've seen the numbers and the trades. And that's what I want to say is that we will not be committing British forces to Iran. He's trying to change the subject because he doesn't want there to be a soundbite of him criticizing Trump or at least throwing shade in any way. And that's exactly what Saturday Night Live UK depicted him as. This is him. Hold on.
We will act in collective self-defense. What I can say is that all of my in relation to the traders, we've seen the activity there. What I can say is that all of my decisions are based in the best interests of our country, and that's why
And that's all he's going to say about that. And now he's moving on to how he makes his decisions in the best interest of the British people.
I've decided that we will not get dragged into the war, unlike the leader of the opposition, and I've decided we will act in collective self-defence of ourselves and our allies. And so I comment on my actions, and they're the principles behind my actions.
You need something more. British Parliament, they're fun. They're fun. All right. So, I mean, look, there is money being made. Nobody cares. Nobody cares to own the libs. Let's make Trump a guy who wasn't even a billionaire before he called himself a billionaire. He wasn't a billionaire. There was no metric that had him over $1 billion. He was so leveraged and so in debt. There was nobody that was ever going to call him a billionaire other than somebody that was just trying to, promote his campaign. Wasn't even a billionaire. He's like a super billionaire now. Yeah. To own the libs. You made him a super billionaire to own the libs. Good for you. It's exactly how they played it. It's exactly how they wanted you to react. And now they're just, I think it's end of days. I think that's what's happening here. I think that some of these examples of corruption are going to become so obvious because they know it's end of days. And at some point, I think we're going to wake up on a Tuesday. This is, by the way, this is not crazy. People have said this. I think we're going to wake up one morning and the breaking news is going to be that the president is gone. He's gone. And all of his people are gone. That in the middle of the night, they just got on that Qatari jet. Like before there's any investigation or anything, he's going to quit. Oh, you don't think Trump's a quitter? You don't think Trump will be like, the liberal Democrats and the corruption and the voting scandals and I'm not going to do it. You people, you had your chance with me and I was going to make everything great, but you didn't let me. And then he's going to fly off to his Trump estates there in Iran. And then for the next 10 years until he dies, there's going to be all of these global courts and everything demanding his arrest. And the Saudi Arabian prince is going to be like, we can't do this, my friend, because we have oil and we can say that he can stay here because you don't want to fuck with Saudi Arabia. That's what's going to happen. That's my prediction. And you people did it to own the fucking libs. Look, I don't like the libs either, but this was not I could at least see that this was a bad plan. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back. We're going to talk to Maddie. Maddie's got some fun stuff. Apparently, we're going to talk about Elvis. We're going to talk about how someone becomes a quadruple amputee, world champion cornhole player, and accused murderer. We're going to get into that story with her. Maddie will be here in a minute. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to get some more coffee. I'm going to go to the restroom, and then give me about 5 minutes or so. It won't be, I promise you this, won't be as long as a typical radio commercial break, but I will take a quick break. Let me just get re-energized, and we'll come back. We'll talk to Maddie. Then after Maddie, we're going to talk about the Charlie Kirk situation and the Donald Trump situation. Now, what do I mean about that? Both of them were victims of assassinations attempts, right? One died, one didn't. There are a couple of conspiracy theories that have been taking up. So there's always conspiracy theories. Like 24 hours after something like this happens, you're like, well, let's create something to get some traction online, right? That's nonsense. But there's like some real stuff. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but let's go through some of the things concerning the Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt of President Donald Trump and the successful assassination of Charlie Kirk just a few months back. I want to go through the conspiracy theories. We've asked AI. AI is explaining them to us. So, we'll go from there. All right, but first, Maddie is up, and then also a bunch more. We've got a full show. We got more stuff coming. Sit tight. Oh, don't forget, if you can, tip the show, right? I haven't been saying that because we're not in a pledge week, and I don't like to shake the can or, beg for money, as some people say. I don't want to do that. So I'll just put it up there. If you want to drop a little something and help the show out, if you like this kind of talk, you want to support it, please help out. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk to Maddie. All things Elvis and the amputee cornhole guy. Trust me, it'll be fun. Back after this. All right, we are back. Let's see here. Here we go. Let's call Maddie. Maddie's going to join us. Maddie's down there in Louisiana. She joins us whenever she has something interesting to talk about. And yesterday we were talking about Elvis. Elvis always piques my interest, he being one of the three great frauds in American entertainment history. Here she is. It's Maddie.
Hello, Petty Maddie has entered the chat.
Yeah, real petty, but that's okay.
If you give me a second, I'd like to lean into that for just a minute because I'd like to give a shout out to one of our regular listeners, Byron, more specifically Byron's cat, because yesterday Byron mentioned in the chat room that every time I come on, Byron's cat leaves the room. So I'd like to say to Byron's cat, why such a hater, bro? And number two, to Byron, if your cat's your best friend, I would posit the idea that no friend shits in a box in your house.
There you go. I'd offer that it's probably not the first time that Pussy has walked away from Byron. That's just me. Just kidding, Byron. I love you. All right, what do you have on your mind today?
Let's talk about Elvis.
Okay, so what is this now? All right, I'm going to sit here. You tell me about Elvis. I got real Elvis hot takes. Everybody who knows me knows I got Elvis hot takes. Hit me.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, just first of all, I went to Graceland in October for a little like mini vacay. You said you have a funny story about some experiences at Graceland, but this is all going to tie into 2 days ago, Trump, during his very important conversations about the war in Iran and the ceasefire, he did manage to make a side trip and go to Graceland this week.
He probably always wanted to see it. And he'd love to be treated like a king in the land of the king. So, you know.
Yeah. And I mean, it was quite impressive. There's a lot of video out there of his little visit. But back to our Graceland experiences, I have just a straightforward organic question for you because like I was raised in a family. My dad is a musician. Elvis was a big part of our lives. You know, obviously I'd always heard about Graceland and I guess I'd seen some pictures and video and stuff. But when you arrived, what was your immediate reaction to the house?
Unimpressed. Yeah, the first time I saw it, I saw the house and I went, there are rich people in the neighborhood I grew up with who have houses far nicer than Graceland.
Absolutely. I was so underwhelmed. Like so underwhelmed. And so when I went to go see Graceland last year, I brought my best gay friend, and he and I are both real estate agents, and he is ridiculously pretentious. Now he's a millennial, whereas I'm a Gen X, and he really didn't know much about Elvis more than just, you know, like former famous guy. And if you could just envision for a second the look of overwhelming displeasure at this house that he thought was going to be this mansion, castle, this impressive, like, we're going to go look at rich people house while we're in Memphis. He was so upset by the whole experience. And, you know, and so, you know, we're going through this house, and I mean, I'm really digging the fact that it's obvious that it's Elvis's home, you know, and they're very protective.
By the way, just for the chat room, we are watching raw footage of Trump touring Graceland as you're telling us the story. So we're seeing.
Yeah. And that's in like the front living room. And it's, look, if you thought that Elvis was gaudy, just know that this house is every bit as gaudy as you would think it would be, but it's 1971 gaudy.
All right. No, let me stop you on this gaudy thing, because this is something that we see very often. I call it, you know, the fashion sense of the lotto winner. Okay. Or the style of the lotto winner.
Nouveau riche.
Elvis decorated his house with the most expensive shit that he could buy, with absolutely no care for what went with what. He didn't think, he just had expensive shit. Trump is also extraordinarily gaudy, but That's from a whole different other thing. He thinks everything needs to be the most expensive that it could possibly be. So they share this in common with, I don't know, Middle Eastern dictators. They also have this crazy gaudy sense. Aging Hollywood starlets also have a crazy, I'm sure if we went into Liza Minnelli's house, it would be pretty fucking ugly. But okay, please continue. We're watching more of Trump touring Graceland.
Yeah, no, agreed. And like I said, I have a feeling like he probably was pretty underwhelmed too. But yeah, the house is completely gaudy. That jungle room is cave-like and so weird and creepy. The grounds are pretty.
Oh yeah, that's
that's
a raping room. That jungle room, there's some shit that went down in that room that you can only read in any number of unauthorized biographies. It
is the weirdest thing ever. It has green shag carpet on the ceiling.
Let me tell you something. That is the room where the monkey used to run around and sexually molest women.
Oh my God.
Do you know this story? Now, I know you were raised in a pro-Elvis household. I was not. So these kinds of stories were encouraged in my household. Elvis had a trained monkey that he trained to pull women's panties down.
Oh my God, no, I did not know that story. Yeah. The only thing I knew was obviously from what I was supposed to know, which is that was largely where him and the Memphis Mafia hung out, and he wrote songs in there. And also even Lisa Marie Presley has said that was one of her favorite rooms too, that she used to love to sit in there and listen to her dad, like talk and hang out and I guess like a little locker room talk with all of his male cohorts.
Sure, it's very wholesome.
Very wholesome.
He and the Memphis Mafia, they were like Boy Scouts. They were very wholesome.
Exactly. Smoking cigars, drinking bourbon, and writing songs, gospel tunes.
Yeah, no, they weren't. They were singing gospel tunes written by other people who they were like completely marginaling out of the prophets. But yes.
Yeah. So like I said, we go and tour it. The house was completely underwhelming. I was, like I said, invested because it was Elvis's house. My gay best friend was like, this is a pile of shit. I hate being here right now. Why are we even looking at this? But right as we were leaving, we were trying to get back on the little shuttle bus that brings you across the street from the Graceland Museum, which is far more impressive, right? I mean, there's stuff in there that you couldn't even look at all of it. But
I was charged with vandalizing the ambulance. The ambulance that came and took the king away, man. It's parked like right across the street in front of like the Elvis Graceland gift shop and stuff. It's a whole like strip mall. It looks, and that's the other thing, Maddie. It just looks like if you were whizzing by Graceland Boulevard at like 60 miles an hour, you just think it was a strip mall. And then you look closer, and the place that would be the nails place or the place that would be the currency exchange or the liquor store, they're all different Elvis themed boutique stores, or at least that's how it used to be. Honestly, I got banned from Graceland.
Like the check cashing place next door is called like Graceland Check Cashing.
Well, but I'm talking about the Elvis proper. It's not like a cool ass gift shop, stylishly an architect came in and made it look cool. It just looks like a fucking strip mall, which is nothing but Elvis gift shops in it. That's how it was when I got banned for life back in 1995.
It to me, you know what it looked like? It looked like an AMC theater, like you pull up to go watch a movie at.
Okay, and do they still have is the plane still there, and is the ambulance still there?
Yeah, that's all still there, and of course they have a whole separate building with nothing but his cars, like his massive car collection. And of course he had like 15 golf carts and like all his shit. Like he had so much shit that even though the house is also still full of his shit, you wondered where all the rest of that other shit actually went.
Why
that house had been like a hoarder house.
Here's what we're looking. Okay, the jungle room. There we are. We're in the jungle room now. I froze it there. It's got the nice green carpeting. Looks, get it because it's like grass.
The ugliest hand carved furniture you've ever seen that looks like it was made out of tree trunks. Like it is so ugly.
It looks cramped. That's the thing you do not want when you are rich people with money trying to create a space for living and thriving. This looks cramped. He should have knocked out some walls. The jungle room should be like a giant open area room. It shouldn't be. It looks like some converted garage.
It is. Well, and so like what he did when he bought that house, and even if you didn't listen to like the tour part, like as a real estate agent, this is what has happened here. You can tell the main house was a small basic house, and then he just added on and added on, and he punched a hole out in the wall and added on and added on, and it's got these weird levels, and you step 2 steps down to get to this, you go 3 steps up to get to this, so it's just so weirdly chock-a-block. I could almost understand why they wouldn't have sold it, because if it was just regular real estate, like as a real estate agent, I would never be able to sell this fucking house.
Well, but you could, because it's Elvis's, and
because it's Elvis's house, right? If you stripped away the fact that it was
just
Elvis's
ugly.
home,
yeah.
And I tried to put this on the market at market value on the 14 acres it's located on, with the pool and the and the racquetball court and everything. Like, the owners would say, like, we want like 10 million for this, and I'd be the one to say, yeah, we're not getting 10 million for that.
Hey man, it's 1976. Racquetball is going to be big. You sure you want to build an entire racquetball court there, King? Yeah, man, racquetball is going to take the world by storm. It's 1976.
Yeah, but it is a time capsule, and like I said, you definitely get the sense that it is completely preserved in the basically from the last way that Elvis walked through those doors, right? Like it's all there.
Yeah, that's the attraction.
Yeah, it is tacky. It is horrific. I don't know which room is worse as you're walking through it. I mean, it is something else. But so like I said, so you have this experience. And so, we're trying to get on the bus to go back across the street. My best friend has decided that in the very least, he wants to get a picture of the front of the home, and he goes taking off across the front yard. And if you've ever been to Graceland, you know that literally every 5 foot, there's a sign posted in the middle of the ground that says, "Don't walk on the grass." So he goes shooting off across the middle of the lawn, and the bus driver is leaning out the window, screaming at him at the top of her lungs, saying, "Get off the grass, get off the grass." And I'm walking behind him, and I'm like, Kane. And he's like, just not zoned out, not even listening, on a mission. And of course, zero respect for any of this, because A, he thinks it's a pile of shit, and B, Elvis is like nobody to him. And he's just hell bent on getting this picture. And I'm like, dude, like, for real? Can we just not get arrested before we leave? And he's like, what's a big deal? It's just grass. And I'm like, well, it is a big deal, because they are wanting it to be a big deal. And there's literally signs every 5 feet. So we finally get on the bus after he got his little picture, and then we shoot back across the street to the museum. But yeah, they're very, very protective over this thing. I'm almost surprised they let them walk around, because all these areas where Trump is walking around in, that's all blocked. You can't walk down in this jungle room at all.
I'm looking at, hold on, where are we at with the Trump thing? He's still in the jungle room. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So Trump visited, Graceland. We're in the middle of a war that we won. So apparently this is his celebration. He goes to Graceland.
With a small contingency of government officials, including Pam Bondi.
So now let me ask you a question. Okay, that's enough. All right. We know that he went to Graceland. Let me ask you this, because this is going to be, although you and I think, are like-minded in very many ways, we do come from two completely different versions of American culture, right? You are a Southern girl, you grew up in Louisiana, and I'm more of a Rust Belt, Great Lakes, big city kind of minded person. You grew up in a house that revered Elvis Presley, right?
Oh, big time. My mom and dad saw him when he did his last tour in Vegas, like about a year before he died. Like, oh yeah, no, Elvis was untouchable in my family.
All right, so let me ask you this: why? What is it just cult of personality? Is it just that he was so charismatic and that they loved him as a performer and they liked his voice and the songs were catchy? Because I was raised, by a woman who was always rolling her eyes about Elvis. He never wrote a song. He never did this. He took from other people. He was elevated for reasons that, I was raised to never quite understand. So I'm just wondering, what was the attraction? Like, he didn't play an instrument. He wasn't a producer.
He did.
No, he didn't.
That's unfair. He did. He played guitar. He actually played several instruments. Here's the thing. I think if you took Elvis out of his management at the time, which we know that, that the Colonel was very oppressive of Elvis and controlled his career in really negative ways, obviously leading to the death of Elvis. Let's face it. And you had put him in today's time with good producers, with good management, you would have a completely different take on him. he is ridiculously talented. We didn't get the benefit of all of his talent, but I mean, no, I mean, like, he was definitely an icon.
What you're doing?
He was an icon.
Yes, he was an icon. And
he was an icon. I think he was the right person at the right moment. He brought a completely different thing that audience had never seen before. He was interesting. He was different. He was, he had a sexuality about him.
Enough. Yeah, so a lot of people did. A lot of people did. Let me ask you this, and again, I don't want to turn this into like a rock and roll debate, but is Buddy Holly more or less important in the history of rock and roll than Elvis Presley?
I don't know if I've ever been positioned that question before.
Yeah, because it's a rock and roll nerd question. That's why. Let me. I won't lead you into any because that's unfair of me. I'm sorry. I believe Buddy Holly is incredibly more important, monumentally more important to the history of what rock and roll became than Elvis Presley. What Elvis Presley did was put the spotlight on it. Why? Because Elvis Presley was fuckable. Elvis Presley was fuckable, and so they put him in front of Buddy Holly. Looked like a nerd, but Buddy Holly was an engineer. Buddy Holly was a producer. Buddy Holly was a virtuoso. Buddy Holly wrote everything. He was the first performer in the history of modern American popular music to walk into a studio and say to the producer, "Get out of here, leave me alone, I'm making an album." That guy is almost completely forgotten, yet the president of the United States is touring Elvis Presley's house. That's just my take on it.
I mean, okay, so maybe Buddy Holly doesn't get the credit he deserves. I could agree to that. I think Buddy Holly was incredibly talented, just like I think Jerry Lee Lewis was, or Fats Domino, or any number of
Little Richard is, in my opinion, more. Little Richard doesn't write or play instrument. Well, Little Richard plays instrument. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. He is a virtuoso. But as a performer, I think there's no comparison between Little Richard and Elvis. Elvis was just a white, hot, fuckable guy. That's it. That's why he's popular. That's okay. All right. Anyway, let's move on from this because there is another story, a guy who's not fuckable, who we need to talk about. And this is the story. I was going to do it yesterday, and I tabled it, and then you brought it up to me after the show yesterday. So let's talk about the quadruple amputee cornhole champion who's accused of murdering his buddy in their car.
Okay, so you want to talk about the fact that Trump asked if people thought that he could take Elvis in a fight, and what the guy said in response to him on that?
All right. You know what I do. So what is this now? What is this? I'm intrigued.
Hysterical.
You've got me intrigued, and we're still watching Trump anyway. So go ahead.
Yeah. So, well, and I was going to bring up one of my favorite Elvis movies, which is not an Elvis movie that Elvis starred in.
All right, we can't do an hour on Elvis. We've got to do a couple of things here. Pick our shots.
All right. Well, like I said, so I'll forget the movie part. But anyway, so while he's out here looking around and doing what he's doing, in this particular scene you're showing in the jungle room, they have this guitar propped up. It's a replica guitar of a guitar that Elvis had played similarly, and on the guitar is a like a logo, and it is for because he was really into karate and martial arts. And so Trump says, well, what is this? And the lady that's showing him this belt and things right now says, oh, well, Elvis was very into martial arts, and he was an 8th degree black belt, and blah 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 blah. And so Trump's response is, oh, so he was very good at this. Do you think that I could best him in a fight?
Right.
And the lady laughs and goes, oh, baby. But the guy behind her goes, Mr. Trump, I think that Elvis would have been polite and he would have let you win.
So that's the proper answer, Is
it? There he is. He's signing the guitar, and this is about to happen on the screen right now. But I thought that was hysterical because I also don't think for Trump's ego that that's also the right answer.
All right. By the way, I'm sure that's part of the propaganda. Elvis Presley was not a black belt. Yes, he had a black belt. Yes, he was awarded a black belt. Elvis Presley was a black belt the way Trump is a Nobel Prize winner. Okay? These are a couple of pussies. Elvis Presley and Donald Trump, neither of these guys have ever been in a bar fight in their life. And Elvis, by the way, he stopped training karate. This is very well known. Elvis stopped training karate with his hand-picked karate teacher when his karate teacher started fucking Priscilla. Yeah. So, whether or not he was an authentic black belt, I don't know. I just asked AI, and AI said, yeah, Elvis was a legitimate black belt. Well, you are a legitimate black belt if another black belt who is a teacher awards you that black belt. I am questioning that Elvis went through as rigorous a training to achieve the black belt as anyone else would. I don't think he did. I think Elvis got his black belt after like 4 sessions.
Well, Barney in the chat wants to know, could James beat Elvis in a fight?
Yes, James Parker today could absolutely beat Elvis in a fight. Absolutely. I love that. I love that the president, well, I don't love that the president of the United States is asking if he could beat Elvis in a fight. There's actually, you know what? Interesting. Okay, let's just be honest about this. Let's say in a fight, let's say in their prime, right? Are they relatively the same age, Trump or is Elvis significantly older? Because Elvis wasn't that old when he died, but he died a long time ago. So I don't know, whatever. All right, in their primes, all right, let's say both of them are 18 years old, Elvis and Trump. If it came down to just a physical, match of, strength and all that, I would have to go Trump. Trump's a much bigger man than Elvis. Elvis wasn't a big guy. Trump is like 6'3", 6'4", but neither of them are fighters. Although maybe Elvis is more of a fighter because he came from hillbilly roots. So, oh man, now I might go Elvis.
I think Elvis would have beat his ass.
You might
Elvis
be
would have beat his white privileged ass, but President Bone Spurs, I think he would have whipped his ass.
Fuck yeah, Elvis was in the military.
Yeah,
Elvis could have gotten out. Probably, I don't know. He could have, but yeah. All right, there you go. Sorry. So in their prime, I am going Elvis, even though Trump is significantly larger. How tall was Elvis? Doesn't
Elvis
matter.
was 6 foot. He was 6 foot, but like Trump, there's a lot of people that say that Trump is not the 6'3" that he says.
He's a pretty big dude. I mean, well, hold on, let's see. Yeah, it says Elvis was 6 foot. He wasn't 6 foot. He wasn't.
He
I'm
was
sorry.
6 foot, like when you look at those pictures of him and like all of his clothes and stuff, like in the museum, that's for a tall man.
All right. Okay. All right. I may stand corrected. I just I just resist the whole Elvis thing. All right, now come on, let's do the amputee guy. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah. So there's a guy. What is his name? Oh, Dayton Weber.
Yeah.
In Maryland, apparently a quadruple amputee, cornhole champion, pro. Is that even a thing?
Apparently, yeah. I mean, see, here's the thing. This is another cultural difference. We play this game a lot here in the Chicago area, and it's not called cornhole. I'm sorry, we don't play this. It's cornhole is a terrible. We call it bags. You want to throw some bags? Let's go throw bags. You want to throw bags? It's called bags, not cornhole. What kind of a weirdo calls it cornhole?
The South, we do call it cornhole. It is big down here. Everybody has those little sets of those boards. You go to a barbecue, you go to somebody's house, cookout, outside, you're hanging out by the pool or whatever. Everybody has a set of
bags.
Cornhole.
Everybody has a set of bags. All right. So, yeah, go ahead. So tell me the story that you have. I have it in front of me if you want me to read it.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, apparently he was driving a car, picked up a friend of his, had 2 passengers in the back seat as well, got into an argument and shot the friend in the front seat twice, killing him while driving the car with the no hands and no legs. And then pulled over to get the 2 guys in the back seat to help him drag the body out when they said, "We're out." Jump out the car, and then the police somehow get involved, and now he's being charged with murder. But I believe that handy-capable people can do all kinds of things, and I have seen obvious video of this man being able to shoot guns. But how quick could that process have been?
This is such a
Number one, it's a weird thing. And number 2, if I'm the person in the front seat who's about to be shot, could I not have just reached over and jiggled the steering wheel and knocked him off balance? He doesn't have arms.
We're looking at him. You know what else he's got? Not only does he not have arms and legs, but he's got midget head. Excuse me. He's got little person head. You know, I mean, and he is like a little person because he's got no legs, he's got no arms. But I'm saying that he looks like he was already built to be a midget. Now, he lost his arms and his legs as a kid. This is terrible. We're not joking about this. It's a horrible thing for a child to have to go through. He lost his arms and his legs due to a bacterial infection.
A blood infection.
He somehow overcame this to come on to the scene as one of the world's great bag throwers. Sorry, cornhole champions. Apparently in Maryland. Yeah. Maryland's still the South. That's why they still call it that. Hold on, I got some video of him. Let's watch some video of him because TMZ is all over this story. TMZ.
Apparently, he's a well-regarded, like super respected cornhole guy, and of course, people who are in the handy-capable space have elevated this man to some level of importance because he has cast a light on their handicaps.
Yeah. He's handy-capable.
Star.
All right, here, let's watch some video. TMZ. So again, shot his buddy in the car, then tried to get his other buddies in the backseat to help him, and they were like, no. which you know what tells me? Seriously. It tells me that this dude just in everyday life doesn't hang around with absolute scumbag, murderous, pricks. That this may really just be the fact that this dude with no arms and no legs who's a cornhole champion might also just be a little mentally unstable, maybe due to the trauma sustained from living life in such a manner. I don't know. But it tells me when the guys in the backseat were so shocked and ran away that they're not like gangbangers. Like he's not hanging out with bangers and things like
cornhole gangbangers. Is that what we're talking about?
No, but if we're looking at, let's take a look at the cornhole amputee guy's life, and we're thinking we're going to find that he's involved in some underworld activity. This just sounds like a group of dudes in a car, like normal dudes. Because
Tesla, he was driving a Tesla.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing about this that makes me think they were gangbangers.
Right,
it's weird.
But not a gang, but criminals. Like they were up to something. There was a drug deal gone bad, and the guys in the backseat were also drug dealers, and they know the life, and this is just how it works. And if you kill one, then you help the guy get rid of it. They wanted no part of it. They were like,
Dude's cheese slid off his cracker and he shot his friend in the front seat of the car.
He lost his shit. Now, how did he shoot his friend? I don't know, but TMZ has provided us with some video of how a man with no arms and no legs fires a gun. Here we go. There he is. Okay, you can load it. How does he do the trigger? With his dick. What? How does he pull the trigger?
I think he's got like a little nub at the end of one of his stumps that he pulls the trigger with.
All right, well, there he is.
But look, like I said, I get it. But he has to use his leg to load it and like all this stuff. Like, how did he do all that in the front seat while he's driving a car?
I love how we got all of these videos of him shooting people, but not a single video of him throwing bags.
I saw a video of that yesterday. Like he kind of has to throw his whole body into it. Like he obviously holds the bag in like his front. It's not hands. Okay. His front appendages. And then he has to kind of launch himself fully across to get the bag to get arc enough to get it over there.
All right, well, he can do all kinds of things, and we've got more video of him with a gun, this time with a rifle. He's climbing what appears to be some sort of a deer stand or something, and he's going to fire a rifle. Here he goes. Look at him. He's handy-capable. TMZ with the video again. Look at him. He seems to walk fine on his nubs. Can I just, look, far be it from me, and he is a murderer, so I don't feel bad about, having any kind of comments like this. But if this is going to be their situation, don't you try to have abs? Don't you try to at least look good in the middle part of your body? This guy's got a beer belly and he's given up. Can't really blame him. Look at him.
I love that take. Like, why aren't you working on the rest of your physique, Sarah? You don't have arms and legs, so why not?
Try. Give us a little something. Show us that you haven't totally given up. But this guy, he's fat. He's got nubs. He's got arms. He's murdering his friends. He's throwing cornholes. Life was pretty good until recently. Look at him all the way up there.
Dude, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. He's got a full backpack on his back with a gun. Like, what are the chances he could just literally flip off the back of that thing?
Look at that. There he goes. He's going to fire the gun, the rifle. Oh, look at him. He's a real man. He don't need arms and legs.
And he's doing everything in like these little sock feet. Like, doesn't that hurt?
Yeah, right? That's all right. There you have it. All right. The sordid case of the quadruple amputee. His name is Dayton James Weber.
Dayton Weber killed his friend,
allegedly,
Bradrick Wells.
Allegedly, with 2 eyewitnesses in the background who then tried to, rope into a conspiracy, and they said no.
Yeah, shot him twice, apparently in full-on like Pulp Fiction style, shot in the car, and then they said, we're out. Clearly, he did not clear the idea that they were going to be in charge of dumping a body and cleaning out the inside of a car that somebody had been shot inside of.
Here, I found a picture of him throwing bags. So there we're looking at a picture of him throwing bags. All right, thank you, Maddie. Maddie appears with us every so often when she's got something good. I thought that was fun. We could probably do an entire special podcast where we debate Elvis. That would probably be something good that we should think about, because I want to go into a whole bunch more, and because I do think that this is an interesting difference. It's a cultural and a regional difference, right? I don't. Yeah. I mean, we recognize in Chicago, we recognize Elvis as one of the early people. Now, I shouldn't even speak for everybody in Chicago. That's unfair. Because you can't do that. Just like you shouldn't speak for everybody in Louisiana. I'm sure there's people in Louisiana who hate Elvis, or not hate him, but don't get it. But I think. I think on the whole, I think it is sort of a culture. I think he is more revered. I think Elvis Presley is far more revered in the South than he is in the North.
Yeah. If you want to see a good movie, guys, I love this movie. I was going to mention it earlier. Bugs wouldn't let me. It's called Elvis and Nixon. And it really leans into this whole idea, because Nixon had this weird thing where he would ask if he could beat people up, and his cabinet would say, "Oh yeah, you could take him." And it's a really great movie. I love that movie. That's one of my favorite Elvis story movies.
It is about the weird, awkward relationship between Elvis Presley and Richard Nixon, who gifted Elvis Presley a DEA badge, which was a novelty DEA badge, but Elvis took seriously, and Elvis would pull people over in front of Graceland for speeding.
He was deputized by the Memphis Police Department.
Oh, as well as the DEA. That's why, he never sweated having a pocket full of drugs at any moment. All righty. Thank you, Maddie. We will, that's a good idea. We should do some sort of a full video where we just debate the importance of Elvis. All right, Maddie, thank you.
All right, I'll come bring in some facts. Talk to you soon.
Okay, you're going to bring in programmed opinion. All right, appreciate you. There she goes. That's Maddie. She was raised by people who love Elvis, and now she's just, woefully going through life thinking that Elvis was something special. I will say this, that my son, and I've told the story about getting banned from Graceland for life, but my son, my son, it's his favorite story about me. It's his favorite. I don't know why I like it. He's like, yeah, my dad was banned from Graceland for life. Man, don't come to Memphis and fuck with the king, boy. That's what I was told by a sheriff. Told me don't fuck with the king, not in Memphis. All right, let's see. What else do we have to do here? I want to talk about, let me see. We did Maddie. We did, I'm going down my thing. Do we have anything else? Yeah, okay, so here, I want to do this. Lost my place. Hold on. Okay, we covered that. Okay, we did that. Oh, this is kind of interesting, and it's a fun fact. We won't spend any time on it, but a little fun fact. So I guess special election happened in Florida, and the Trump's congressperson is now it's Trump's congressperson a Democrat now? the person who won the Mar-a-Lago district is a Democrat, which tells you all you need to know. Let's move on to about the situation currently supporting MAGA. Mar-a-Lago is now the person who's running the district. I think this is a state election. That's why I didn't want to jump into this story, but whatever. The state rep who's in charge of Mar-a-Lago is now a Democrat, an anti-Trump Democrat. All right. Here's what I want to get into. I want to talk about these new conspiracy theories, because I come from a time when conspiracy theories, you were nuts, and there was only one. There was one conspiracy theory in America when I was growing up, and that was the Kennedy assassination. Now, there were other, cryptozoological fascinations that we all talked about, but they weren't conspiracy theories. We had the Bermuda Triangle, we had the Loch Ness Monster, we had Bigfoot, all of those things. Not the same thing. As far as conspiracies go, we had stopped talking about the Teapot Dome scandal for, generations, and then we had the Kennedy thing, and that was all we had. And it became, as I grew as a young man, it became quite clear that people who were obsessed with the Kennedy assassination were called conspiracy theorists, and they were marginalized as weirdos. And we were all okay with that. That was just fine. This was before The Matrix was released, so people weren't thinking in another way. But now, all of a sudden, especially with the advent of the internet and the ability of people to just spread nonsense, conspiracy theories have become all-consuming. 911 just kind of broke the model of what conspiracy theory. 911. Hold on. Sorry. I'm right. Sorry. Anyway, conspiracy theories over the past 20 years, and certainly over the past 10 years with the rise of QAnon and, all of this alternative facts and all that, they've become something that are just an everyday occurrence. And we've got two new ones. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy again, but there are two new ones that are really interesting, and I thought that we would talk about them. Certainly, I mentioned at the start of the show that we were going to discuss Charlie Kirk, so he would be one of them. The other one is the president's assassination there. The assassination, the attempted assassination of President Donald Trump that occurred in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he, his ear grew back or something. No scar, no nothing. He's totally fine. Seemed like a lot of, they told us his ear was blown off. Well, whatever. He's fine. The troubling part about that, the Butler assassination attempt on President Trump, was that somebody died. An innocent died. And I'm not going to start out with the Trump thing, but I do want to mention this. Somebody died in the attempted assassination of President Trump. A 50-something-year-old former volunteer fire chief who was sitting behind him died. Let me ask you, Mago, what's his name? What's the name of the man who died? Isn't it weird that we have never heard anything about the man who died? We haven't seen his wife. We haven't seen family. We've seen no friends ever go on TV. It's been completely marginalized. The man's name is Corey Comparatore. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing it right. That's how marginalized that victim of that situation has been historically. We don't even talk about him. If MAGA was legit, that man, his name should be shouted. They should revere that man as one of the greats among them, but they don't, because for some reason we've completely moved off ever even talking about that aspect of the botched Trump shooting or whatever it was. I don't believe that anybody was supposed to die. I think that was a mistake. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that one. We are going to talk about Charlie Kirk first, because the Charlie Kirk assassination conspiracy theory is one that is picking up steam, and it's one, not a conspiracy guy, but it is one from the very beginning that I went, oh boy, doesn't this seem weirdly timed? Because it occurred at a time when Charlie Kirk had sort of been, perceived as biting the hand of his masters who fed him, with some recent takes and positions on Israel and Netanyahu and all of that. People were getting upset. So anyway, I want to play this. Last week, when I took a couple of days off because of situations, last week, a big story that was not covered here was the story of Joe Kent. Joe Kent, who is a crazy, unqualified, should never have been in the fucking position he was in anyway, but he was a knuckle-dragging drooler of a MAGA sycophant, so they put him in a position of power. That's who Joe Kent was. Well, Joe Kent last week resigned his position there in the Trump administration and cited that Trump has betrayed MAGA and their war in Iran is not something that he can be a part of and blah, blah, blah. He saw a lot of people on the left who really don't know the lay of the land were like, oh, he's one of the good ones. No, he's not. No, he's not. Joe Kent is not one of the good ones. Joe Kent is really bad. He just happens to disagree with Trump and the whole Iran thing because Joe Kent is another one of these guys who is sick of America bending the knee to Israel. That's the argument. I'm not saying that that's what's happening. I'm saying that that is the argument from Joe Kent and his side. We are doing the bidding of Israel. So Joe Kent left. Well, now he's going around, and the first thing I thought, the very first thing when I heard this story, I think the story broke on Thursday of last week, maybe a week ago today. But when this story broke, the first thing I thought was, fuck, this guy's going to have 2 million podcast listeners by this time next week. Because why wouldn't you? If you were some jack-off who should never have been in the position you were in the first place, and you're swimming with these sharks and you can see the absolute chaos, and you're a bit of a deluded madman yourself, you see the opportunity here. Well, I can check out of this job that I don't really know what the fuck I'm doing anyway. I'll make a big stink. They'll talk about me for days on the media, and then I'll launch my own independent podcast like Don Lemon or any of these other idiots. Dan Bongino. Joe Kent wants to be the new Dan Bongino. So he has no credibility, but he did say some of the things that a lot of people, who are opponents to MAGA believe, which is that this war is not a legitimate war, that this war is for years we should have done a regime check, but now there's no reason now other than my take, the Epstein files and whatnot. But Joe Kent is now going around on all kinds of different, podcasts, and he's telling his story. He is a hot and popular guest. Let's check in with him. What podcast is this? This is hold on. Let me see what this is. Hold on a second. I don't we're free balling it here. I had something I was going to do, but this looks like it's new. So let's check this out. Cancel on again late in the show. Got a lot of windows open. All right, let's see if this is it. All right, maybe. Let's listen to this.
Conspiracies that they concoct. Every
oh, okay. No, this isn't
so
it.
obsessed.
The Charlie Kirk show.
With
Is that
same conspiracy?
Maybe this is it. Hold on. Is this the Joe Kent guy? Maybe it is. All right, let's watch.
Is that they concoct every other thing that ever happens, and so they have to shove it into this one because they care more about their conspiracy theories than about the person who murdered my friend.
Oh, okay. No, this is them responding. This is corporate turning point.
And
sorry,
this is
that's corporate bought and paid for turning point, just issuing a rebuttal to the people who are saying that this whole thing looks a little bit strange. Where is the video? I cannot find the video. They have taken the video down. Of course they did. Of course the video is gone. It's okay because I've got the transcript here. Joe Kent says he is skeptical that Tyler Robinson, who confessed to killing Charlie Kirk, was the lone shooter. That accusation could undermine the prosecutor's case against Robinson. Kent says he knew of the risk before he decided to speak openly about this. Kent has also said that he'd be willing to testify even if it was perceived as being helpful to the defense of Tyler Robinson. Okay. Former director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, says that the FBI did not properly investigate the assassination last fall of conservative leader Charlie Kirk. Here's a quote now from him. He says, the FBI was pretty forceful in saying we couldn't investigate any further, he told. He goes on to say, I saw no action being taken. This is Joe Kent talking about the federal investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk, which you would imagine would have been pretty thorough, pretty extensive, and, probably still ongoing. But, they settled it pretty quick. Remember they had the bullets with the gay slang on it? So it's pretty open and shut. Then remember, they had the text message that Tyler Robinson sent to his tranny roommate saying, I love you and we're trannies and I did this for all trannies. You remember that? Open and shut. No need to look into this any further. Joe Kent saying that's all bullshit. All right, let's continue. The former director of the National Counterterrorism Center says the FBI didn't properly investigate the assassination of Kirk. The FBI was pretty forceful in saying that we couldn't investigate this any further. Tyler Robinson confessed to killing Kirk in a text message and a note to his trans romantic partner. His defense team may now be able to use Kent's allegations that the government is suppressing evidence and did not do a proper investigation to their advantage. Kent said he knew that he might be called as a witness before he made his statement that a foreign nexus may have been involved in Kirk's assassination. All right, so let's pause here. Joe Kent is saying that there was a foreign nexus, meaning a foreign nation's influence over the investigation by the United States government into the murder of Charlie Kirk. Joe Kent, the former director of National Counterterrorism, is saying that he believes there was a foreign interest involved in this investigation. Who is he talking about? Foreign interest. He's talking about Israel. He is talking about Israel and his concerns over a level of influence that they seem to have over the president that is now causing diehard MAGA, dyed-in-the-wool, right-wing crazies like Joe Kent to go, hey, this is not what we were promised, and he's bailing. Kent said he knew that he might be called as a witness before he made these statements, that a foreign nexus may be involved in Kirk's assassination. So what does he mean by that? Why would there be a foreign nexus? Well, Charlie Kirk was an incredibly influential voice among young men, the same voting group that turned out and had Donald Trump beating Kamala Harris. That you combine that voting group, the young men, you combine Charlie Kirk with Joe Rogan and the Manosphere, and suddenly you've got a voting block that you can win with, and that's how Trump won. Charlie Kirk had been questioning the role of Israel in United States governance. He didn't like the influence, and he'd been chattering about that. Now, that goes against what some people believe were the power behind Charlie Kirk and Turning Point. The power behind Charlie Kirk and Turning Point was that old billionaire from like Nebraska who somehow put $100 million into this project that this high school kid from Arlington Heights, Illinois was doing. Now I ask you, how the hell did this high school kid from Arlington Heights, Illinois, who's just doing a podcast in his basement, suddenly become Charlie Kirk? Because he was introduced to some right-wing billionaire who was brought on board to fund this plan to influence young minds. That's what this was all about. Charlie Kirk from the very beginning has been controlled by special interests. All of these people that you love are controlled by special interests. You want to know who's not? A guy who streams from a fucking spare room in a house on the south side of Chicago. But I'm the asshole nobody wants to listen to. But sure, Charlie Kirk is going to build his audience and become one of the most influential voices that generation will ever know. And as soon as he started having thoughts that weren't in line with the money that backed Turning Point, they put an end to him. That's the conspiracy theory. Now, who are the billionaires that were, providing the money and the talking points for Turning Point and all of that? Who are they beholden to? Well, the belief is that they're beholden to Israel. And, the long tentacles of Israeli influence that we've had over politics, they've had over politics in this country since 1947. So Charlie Kirk breaks bad on Israel, or at least starts to signal that he's going to break bad on Israel. And that's not what they want. They want Charlie Kirk talking about how gays are bad and blacks aren't as smart, because that's the shit that keeps the generation divided. So they're not one voting block going, hey, I think we're being manipulated. Charlie Kirk was put in place to keep everybody ginned up, but Charlie started to grow. Charlie started to have thoughts of his own that weren't in line with these special interests, so he had to go. Again, that's the conspiracy theory. Now, there's all kinds. You can go so deep into this. You can fall into a bunny hole. You can start to wrap in Erica Kirk and her behavior and what her presence was in his life and how they ended up meeting. By the way, they were introduced by that same billionaire. That's right. Charlie Kirk from Arlington Heights, Illinois, didn't organically meet at a sock hop. Former reality show and beauty pageant contestant from Arizona, Erica Kirk. He didn't meet her. They didn't meet organically. It wasn't a meet cute. It was some creepy old fucking man who introduced Charlie the Virgin to some fucking hot smoke show who somehow spent 18 months in Eastern Europe. I mean, there's a lot here, you guys. There is a lot here. And Joe Kent talking, my point is this. Joe Kent is a madman and he's crazy. And he used to be on this side. And this is just another example of how, there are cracks in what was a voting block that created this mess in the beginning. There's not just cracks. I'm sorry. There's a full-on cave-in of the floor. This is like some Lebanese wedding in Beirut when a bomb goes astray and you see the whole dance floor cave in. That's what's happening here. When pressed that his testimony could help Robinson's defense, Kent said, then honestly, so be it. If it gets us to the truth, that's obviously the risk that I am willing to take. All right. Hold on. Let me. All right. So that's the Joe Kent thing. That's the news that's, populating the last couple of days concerning this. Here is, I asked AI. Let's read AI. I asked AI what the conspiracy theory. Now, remember, I've spent the last 12 hours in these bunny holes, right? I've been reading things and I've been watching YouTube videos, but I wanted to see after all of that, what does AI have to say? What does AI, if I asked AI, tell me about the Charlie Kirk conspiracy, what are people saying? All right, so here's what it says. The Charlie Kirk assassination theory refers to a wave of conspiracy theories that emerged following the shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University on September 10th, 2025. While authorities arrested a 22-year-old suspect, Tyler Robinson, who reportedly confessed to the crime, several conflicting narratives have gained traction online. Core conspiracy theories. Here are the core theories. These theories generally fall into several categories, ranging from deep state to more surreal claims. Here is the one that I believe is most obvious. Now, again, it requires you to believe that there is foreign influence. And in this case, I don't know that that's hard for a whole lot of us. We're just watching it without bullshit and we're going, yeah, this looks shady. But for some people to believe that MAGA is just completely gangrenicized, that's even a word, by foreign and corrupt influences, yeah, this might be hard for you to believe. But yeah, the main conspiracy theory in the death of Charlie Kirk involves a foreign government. One of the most prominent theories suggests that Israel or Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, was responsible for the hit. Why? To shut him up, because he's influenced. He's about to break bad on Israel. He has been. He's been sending up test balloons, saying things that are critical. This could be bad. Let's shut him up. Let's replace him. Let's elevate the wife. She does what we say. She grew up the daughter of a defense contractor, which is even weirder, man. Erica Kirk grew up the daughter of a big defense contractor, somebody who was deeply rooted in conservative. That's how the creepy old billionaire introduced young Charlie Kirk to Smoke So Arizona cheerleader or whatever the fuck she was, Erica Kirk. And it's why she doesn't really seem all that broken up by it. It would explain it. She was a honeypot designed to keep Charlie in line. And Charlie started to have thoughts of his own. And that happens. Just ask, Martin Luther King and Gandhi and, all the other knots. Oh, boy, did I just trigger some of you. Look, the moral fuel behind the action may be different between Charlie Kirk and Martin Luther King. But the fact of the matter is they were both saying things that suddenly became unpopular to the powers that be. That's the common thread. I'm not saying that Charlie Kirk was Martin Luther King. Please, nuance is important here. Proponents of this theory, including former National Counterterrorism Center Director Joe Kent and commentator Candace Owens. Well, that's not a real good group. Tucker Carlson, too. There you go. There's a big one. They've all hinted that Kirk's recent skepticism regarding U.S. involvement in wars with Iran and dealings with Israel may have made him a target. This theory often cites unresolved leads and claims that major donors were pulling funding from Turning Point USA just before the event. Whew. All right, here's a fun one. You want to hear a fun one? There was a trap door. He didn't die. That was somebody else. Here's why I don't get this theory. A trap door? We saw the dude sitting there get his head blown off. Nobody dropped through a trap door. Why are you starting it that there was a trap door and Charlie escaped and that, he's being held with Elvis and JFK and Kurt Cobain? What, is there an island somewhere? Yes, Epstein runs it. It's where they all are. So trap door is stupid. The hologram theory is also stupid. There's a theory that wasn't actually Charlie, that it was a hologram. Well, I mean, unless seriously we're using some space technology from aliens, that I've seen holograms before. I've never seen a hologram whose neck explodes right there in real time. It's not a hologram. Charlie Kirk is dead. He was killed. All right, so now the Trump assassination. Hold on. Let me fix this. Sorry, I gotta. By the way, everything is a conspiracy theory now because opportunists have, recognized that you can get social traction and clout and even money to some extent by amplifying these things. See, the reason that normal people didn't walk around in 1987 going, I think that whatever. I think that Reagan and John Hinckley, I think that was a false flag. The reason people didn't do that back then, the reason we didn't say these things was because, one, we recognized they sounded really stupid, and there was no way to do it anonymously. You can do this anonymously on Twitter. What do you mean? You have an avatar? It's my account. It's still not the same thing as standing up in front of a group of people you don't know and saying something really fucking crazy. Okay? There is a confidence in the anonymity that has been provided by those of us who communicate on social media networks. You say things differently than you would if you were looking. So that's the reason. But man, they are everywhere, and they're causing us to think about all kinds of things, and we all got the brain scramblies. All right, so let's talk about now the Trump attempted assassination. Donald Trump, this is another big conspiracy theory. Was this a real assassination? This one I do not believe. The Charlie Kirk thing, I don't know. That one's fun. I don't care. Charlie Kirk, whatever. President Trump, I believe this was 100% staged. I believe that I do not put anything past him. When he is involved, I do not trust any of the institutions, whether it's the FBI or the people investigating, the Secret Service. I do not trust any of the institutions when it comes to something that involves Trump. By the way, I also, never mind. Need a drink of water. So the Butler assassination attempt, I just want to go on record as saying I don't believe that. I don't believe that played out the way it was. And again, somebody is dead. This is my main reason. Why are they not celebrating the man who died? Why does Trump not bring his name up all the time? Why? Now you could say, well, because obviously Pugs, Trump is a narcissist. He doesn't give a fuck. Okay, well, that's pretty bad in and of itself. But I think there's another reason. I think he's not bringing it up because I don't think anybody was supposed to die. I think that was a fucking mistake in that whole thing. I believe it was set up. I think it was designed at a time when Trump needed a boost because he wasn't beating Kamala Harris. He needed something to change the narrative about the fact that he'd been convicted of 37 crimes in New York. And then look at this. I don't know. Well, Pugs, what about? I don't know. All I know is that it is incredibly strange that we don't know anything. We haven't seen a Dateline special. There's not a movie being made about Corey Competitor. A movie. You know what I mean? I mean a MAGA movie. I mean, they make stupid MAGA movies about every fucking, there's an Ashley Babbitt movie. Why did they make a movie about the guy who got killed? Because it was a fuck up. Because they screwed it up. All right, so that's what I think. I don't know. We got to see, but it doesn't smell right to me. And if Butler, Pennsylvania smells right to you, well, you've probably been drinking the Kool-Aid, or you're not a very astute judge of circumstances. You're just not looking at the whole thing and going, okay, who benefited? Who benefited greatly from that? That's where I always come down on this. And why are they ignoring the man who died? Once again, say his name. And it's important that I don't know what his last name is. I don't know how to pronounce his last name properly. It's Italian. It's ethnic. And you know why? Because nobody's been saying the name Corey Comparatore. Or is it Compatore? I don't know. Because for some reason, we've decided that this guy doesn't matter. Let's not talk about him. Okay, let's not talk about him. All right, so here I asked AI. AI is going to break down the Trump staged theory. Primary narrative is that it was all staged. A common narrative claims the shooting was faked to boost Trump's popularity. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah. Evidence has been cited in this. Proponents point to Trump pausing to pump his fist as proof of a photo opportunity rather than a life-threatening emergency. Yeah, but that's not it. I mean, him doing the fist pump, that I'm not. My question has always been, why did the Secret Service hold him there and didn't immediately rush him away? They should have knocked his old ass. If this was a real assassination attempt, the Secret Service would have knocked his old ass to the ground and ran with him. But they didn't. There was a weird moment where they're like holding him, where they allow him to turn. That is not standard operating procedure. I have heard endless other Secret Service officers on television or in documentaries or whatever, because there is a lot about this one. I've heard them all say, that is not what's supposed to happen. And what a great photo op. And who knows more about optics than this guy? So there you have it. Crisis actors, they say there are unfounded claims suggesting that the audience members were paid actors who did not react with enough panic. That's stupid. That is stupid. You can't keep all that many people quiet. No, they just hired like 50 people, 50 townies, and they paid them like $100 each. And they promised to keep their mouth shut forever. That is so fucking stupid. That is as dumb as like the moon landing was fake. Really? Because there were over 2,800 employees who were involved in that project who were there. You kept 2,800 people silent, involved in a conspiracy theory. 2,800 people. That's just the people involved in launching the rocket. Those were the people who were there. So, yeah, all right. You can't keep people quiet. Certainly not in the day. You don't think that some of those guys are still alive. You don't think that somebody who faked the moon landing would have a podcast by now? How come nobody who is a former director of space projects for the Apollo mission has come out and tried to cash in on this incredibly important knowledge? Because it fucking happened. That's why. And it's stupid to believe that humans could keep their mouths shut. So there weren't hundreds of crisis actors weren't hired to sit behind Trump. There were supposed to be shots fired. Nobody was supposed to be hit. They were supposed to catch a guy, probably kill him. I don't know what his deal is. Maybe he was, he's a patsy. Maybe, somebody who got riled up by somebody in town who was actually like a dark agent or something, who was put there to rile up a crazy, and whatever. I don't want to go there. But as far as these conspiracy theories go, the two big ones, Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump, I do feel more certain that the Donald Trump one is a fake job. The Charlie Kirk one, it could very possibly be. It's the same people involved, but I don't know about that. I do know there's a lot of weirdness with the Charlie Kirk thing, but as far as Butler goes, I think that was a fake job. Let's see here. Fake blood claims. Some baselessly allege the use of blood pills or squibs to simulate Trump's ear injury. The inside job theory concerning the Butler assassination attempt. The inside job theory says that a right-leaning narrative suggests the shooter was intentionally allowed to carry out the attack by deep state actors or the Biden administration. Biden did it. Biden, we're right wing. It was fake because the stupid right wing that love MAGA, they love the fake dumb shit. So they're like, no, we believe it was fake. Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. But it was Biden. It was fake. It was fake. That's not a real. But Biden. Good thing nobody died though, huh? Hey, MAGA, somebody did die. You fucking people. A right-leaning narrative suggests the shooter was intentionally allowed to carry out the attack by deep state actors of the Biden administration. Then there's security failures. Theorists have questioned how a 20-year-old was able to access unsecured rooftops with a direct line of sight to the stage. Yes, a lot of people, and there's another thing you hear Secret Service agents talking about. This is not how we clear an area before a presidential speech. This was done differently. Why were the local cops given the lead on the ground? That's a big change in standard operating procedure for the Secret Service. And any number of Secret Service guys have been like, yeah, that's not how we do it. The local police are there for crowd control. They do not patrol any of the areas of interest that have been pre-designated by Secret Service investigators. It's not how they do it, but it's how they did it in Butler. It's weird. It's weird. All right, there you have it. Anyway, there we go. Conspiracy theory. So, it's a pick'em. You can choose both if you want. Hell, that might be fun, right? All right, let's keep going. What else do we have here on today's show? We did the cornhole guy. We did that with Maddie. That was fun. How about, all right, how about this? Oh, this is crazy because I mentioned her earlier because I knew we were going to play this, but I have a question. What are we doing to our old people? Huh? Can we answer this? One of our greatest resources are our old people. Should be. That's what we say. That's what we tell ourselves. That's what the programming prompt us to declare publicly. We love our old people. No, we don't. We love them if they can keep providing what it is that they've provided their whole time until we have milked every last bit of sustenance out of their boobs. And then we put them in a nursing home and forget all about them. Or in the case of Liza Minnelli, she can still sell tickets in Akron. Let's put her on tour. All right, so we've got some video here of Liza Minnelli. She's like 1,000,000 years old. They're putting her out on tour, and if your grandma or your aunt or somebody like that wants to see Liza Minnelli, maybe you ought to show them this video and go, okay, I know it's $100 ticket, nana, but before you waste it here and take it out of my inheritance, how about you look at this video of what you're buying? This is Liza Minnelli on her current. It's not a tour. This was a special show that she did. But here, let's watch. What are we doing to our old people, I ask? Oh. What are we doing to me? I'm starting to get lightheaded here. Let me just declare, okay, without any hesitation, that Liza Minnelli is awesome. Liza Minnelli is super cool. She has always been around. She's like one of these people that she's like Barbara Streisand. She's like a lesser Barbara Streisand. She's been around my entire life. I feel like, when I see her, I should go, ugh. It's like a very Yoko Ono kind of instant reaction to the prospect of Liza Minnelli. It should be like, ugh. But then I see her and stuff where you watch her in interviews and you're like, this chick's kind of cool, man. This chick's kind of cool. Judy Garland's daughter, the shitsy scene. I mean, as weird as Liza Minnelli is, and she's a pretty weird lady, she is the end result of a lifetime of nonsense. Hollywood, Judy Garland, film director Vincent Minnelli nonsense. And also, want to point out, hysterical, man. She was so funny on Arrested Development. If you love the show Arrested Development, then you love the character of Lucille too. That Liza Minnelli played Lucille too for 3 seasons on Arrested Development. She was the old lady, the old rich lady who lived next door to the Bluths in their big fancy apartment building. And of course, Lucille Bluth, who was the mother of the Bluth family, she was best friends with Lucille too. Her name was also Lucille and played by Liza Minnelli. Very funny. So funny. All right, let's return. So this is what they're doing to Liza. Now, a couple of ways you can look at this, right? You can make choices. This is, all right, look at me getting into my therapy bag. So you can react to things any way you want, understanding that you don't have to reflexively react to stuff. You can watch this and then you can just kind of think about it and go, here's what I think. I think the reflexive response to this, if you are an unhappy person, is look at what they're doing. This is disgusting. Someone should call the authorities. Right? That's a choice. You can choose to be cynical seeing this. Or you can look at it and going, man, she's having fucking fun. This is what she does. You think she cares about your judgment because you sitting online watching the rant with me are now making fun of her? This bitch is having fun. God love her. But it is funny to watch because, I like to think of your aunt who paid $100 and maybe was expecting cabaret level Liza Minnelli, and they're getting this. Well, there you go. She's getting cabaret level Liza Minnelli. But here, also, let me point out, she just sits in a wheelchair on stage with a microphone, and then they play video of her singing from her prime, and every now and again, she seems to sing along into the microphone. So that's what you're getting. But she's having fun, and if the people who are paying for the tickets to see Liza Minnelli, somebody that they loved all these years, good for them too, and we shouldn't have an opinion about it, but it is funny. Oh, yay! Look at her. Look at this. Like she's got like a 65-year-old queer dancers that have been, working for Liza since the 1970s. She had to call them all up. She's like, get my dancers from the 70s. We'll go back. I want to see the dancer guys. Look at them. This is a scene, man. I'd go to this. Oh, I'd go to this. I'd pound beers. I'd shout shit out. Play cabaret, motherfucker! All right, is she going to say it? Can she speak? All right, she had a humorous response to a question. The question was, you've gone through a lot of lovers, you've had a lot of husbands, and her response was, haven't we all? So she's still a fun lady. Give her credit. All right, there you have it. What are we doing to our old people? Well, whatever they want. Look, if she's down with that, if Liza Minnelli is like, I'm totally cool with it, then fine. Who are we to mock her? However, it does remind me of another guy from back then who is being trotted out on world tours that your aunt or grandma may actually want to buy tickets to. We've focused on this guy a couple of times. He is, of course, Frankie Valli, the great Frankie Valli of Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Let's watch a little video of what he's getting up to. First of all, can I just say, Frankie Valli's cool. I don't know if you know the Frankie Valli story, right? I'm not shitting on Frankie Valli. Frankie Valli's an old man, but the Frankie Valli story is cool, man. He's a mafioso. He's a mob guy. He's like, all those rumors about, Sinatra and all that. No, Frankie is legitimately a part of the Philadelphia mob scene or whatever that was. There's great stories. New Jersey, Philadelphia, Jersey Boys, right? Isn't that his story about you can read more and you can get more in depth about, Frankie Valli and his connections and all that. But I've always liked him. By the way, no, he wasn't Little Carmine. Who did he play? Sopranos. Do you guys remember Frankie Valli on The Sopranos? He was one of the New York bosses. Little something. And he wasn't Little Carmine. Little Carmine was the other guy. Anyway, Frankie Valli was awesome on The Sopranos as a mob boss. Anyway, this is what he's doing now. If you want to go to, I don't know, the casino. Maybe your aunt's heading up to the casino with a bunch of her friends and they're going to see Frankie Valli. This is what they're going to be seeing in 2025. And I hope they're okay with it. As long as Frankie's having fun, I'm okay with it. Here we go. All right, in this case, I think he's actually speaking into the mic, which maybe if you were a ticket buyer, you might want him to be lip syncing like Liza was, because I don't know. He's about to rip into one of his most recognizable hit songs. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. See, now he's well, I was just going to say he's supposed to be singing this part, but no, I think this is the Four Seasons. He takes the even higher part that comes in next. Let's hear if Frankie can do it. All right, now he's lip syncing. This is lip syncing. And you can see he's not even moving. All right, let's listen. Here we go. You're listening to song. You're 80. You're listening to songs from somebody that takes you back. It's the whole sentimental attachment and the magic that comes with music. You're having a good time. You don't care that it's basically an animatronic, like a Showbiz Pizza kind of, because that's what we're getting here. I've never seen background guys look so bored. They look really bored. All right, that's cute. That's cute. What are we doing to our old people? No, I don't want to. I don't want to leave on a bad note, because Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, man, they got some bangers. They got some.
I moved your meeting, and your car will be.
Let me take you back.
Perfect.
Look at this.
Let me get the sound here.
Nice snake, Chris.
Hey, whoa. Right. What is that?
All right, here we go. All right, let me show you something, because I think. We talk about dad rock, right? And I think people like to pretend that like maybe dad rock began with the Foo Fighters, right? The Foo Fighters were the first band that I really remember having that sort of mantra of dad rock. They're a dad rock band. Now there's a bunch of dad rock bands. And I think this is just a result of the fact that dads throughout history, until the last 20, 30 years, there were no dads who grew up liking rock and roll, because rock and roll started in the 50s and 60s. So for there to be a thing of dad rock, you'd have had to have, been a teenager in an era where rock and roll was the prevalent form of popular music in your culture. So anyway, dad rock, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, this, you guys, is for me the beginning of dad rock. Because when I was a kid, this was the kind of thing that your dad would get into, or your friend's dad was like really into when it came on in the car. And I'm telling you, it's a timeless banger. He might be an animatronic 150-year-old, cash machine at this point. But there was a time when Frankie Valli was a fucking baller. Here's an example. His whole vibe, this is what I like about, and this is why he was cast in The Sopranos, because his whole vibe is like a mafia captain who they got to sing, right? He's like, everybody's a pussy, you're a pussy, and I'm going to sing like a chick, but fuck you, right? That's kind of his whole vibe. Look at these guys. These are straight up mafioso dudes. These are his band. This is the Four Seasons. Oh, we don't need that. All right, let's watch Frankie, though. Frankie in his prime, because we just saw him. order a hit, man. This motherfucker didn't play. And by the way, don't get it twisted. There was a difference between Frankie Avalon and Frankie Valli. Frankie Valli was somebody to be dealt with. By the way, remember, their contemporaries were Led Zeppelin, long hair and all of this shit. They weren't looking like Aerosmith or something. No, they looked like this. They looked like dudes who were, running sports book back in the 1970s in South Philly. All right, that's all. That's a banger of a song, man. That's an all-timer. Bunch of dudes who just got done murdering the West Side Gang got together in a studio and recorded a disco banger. The origin of Mad Rock, or Dad Rock. Why do we still have the Maddie thing up there? I should have gotten rid of that. But hey, whatever. Promote Maddie. I love it. What else do we have? Just running out of space. Hold on. Chat room is being wonky. All right, never mind. I could spend hours getting into what Barney's saying, but I was just investigating some of Barney's comments there. What else do we have? Oh, okay. So here, I'll leave you with this. This is just, well, actually, I won't leave you with this. I got one other thing I want to show you, but I'll leave you with this. This is what we've become. This is who we are. Anybody who is a fan of Battlestar Galactica in the story, the narrative tale of Battlestar Galactica, you will recognize this moment and you will be like, oh God, here it is. This is how it begins. This is who we've become. This is who we are. Just regular rando citizens on street corners arguing with robotic food delivery systems.
Huh? Hello, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? You want me to press the button for you? You want me to press the button for you, Mingo? Fuck you. Press it yourself. You took a human job and you want me to press the button for you?
Yeah.
No, hello, fuck you. Excuse you. Excuse you. I'm not pressing nothing. You press it. You sit there. You took a human job. You take over our infrastructure, and then you want me to help you out. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. Press it yourself. Oh, that's right. You don't have fingers. You got the green light, but you can't go because you don't have the walk signal. But you don't walk. You roll. Well, that's too fucking bad against a Cold War. You can sit here all night. Tell who that is to come press the button for you. It's not my problem. What the fuck you ever done for me? Mingo's just fucking stuck. He got the green light, but he can't go because it doesn't have the walk signal. Not my problem.
Nope. Not my problem. Fuck you, Mingo. Yeah, call the person whose food you got. Tell them to come down here and press the button because you ain't got no fingers. That's how it starts. That's how it starts. And then they'll develop fingers. They'll get fingers next. Yeah, it's just a whole domino effect. And then before we know it, we're going to be living in a space freighter searching for a new Earth because the Mingo robots are now calling all the shots down here. All right. Okay. I'll share this. This will be the last thing that we'll do today. And I will, why not? We'll show this because I'm fascinated by this. Nobody else is. I posted all of those UK SNL segments on all of my social media, all of them, Facebook. Total combined 3 likes. 3 likes. Like nobody is interested in this. Well, fuck you. It's my show. This is a promo. So they're doing promos just like they do on Saturday Night Live here. We see like, hey, it'll be like the celebrity guest host and then maybe 1 or 2 cast members. And they'll be like, hey, join me this Saturday where my musical guest will be. And then they'll usually do like a little sketch. They're doing it in the UK too. Let's check in on the first promo for episode 2 of SNL UK. This is what it looks like over there. Who's this? Jamie Dornan? Jamie Dornan is the host, the next host of it. Who's Jamie Dornan? I mean, I know him, but he's fucking HBO, man. HBO has made so many handsome English actors famous, and they're all like the same age, and they all kind of look the same. Like, this isn't the guy from Game of Thrones, is he? Or is this? I know who Jamie Dornan is, and I know anyway, here we go. Here's the SNL UK promo for this week. Interesting watching it.
Hi, I'm Jamie Dornan.
I'm Jamie Dornan.
This is SNL UK.
Jamie Dornan.
Yeah. What's good, JD? What's good, JD? JD Sports. It's in the game. How you feeling about hosting?
I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to just sort of getting stuck in and kind of.
Sorry. I'm expecting a call from the Bond people.
Carry on.
The Bond people?
Yeah, down to the last two to play James Bond. Me and Jacob Lawley left, so fingers crossed.
Are you all right?
I was in the running for Bond.
You were. Right, well, as I say, it's down to the last two, and you'll know Al Nash, so...
You audition?
Yeah.
Oh, man, show him.
Oh, no, I can't. I'm sure. Okay, all right, okay. I'll do it quickly.
Yeah, go on.
It was like... Something like that. I can't remember exactly how it was. Along those lines, so yeah.
So good. Can you see your Bond?
Yeah. No, I mean, I was doing it more like... The name's Bond. James Bond.
Yeah, that's great. Man.
Yeah.
Really good. Mine was a bit more like the name's Bond. James Bond.
Whoa.
Why are you doing it like Kermit?
Like what's Kermit? What's Kermit? Sorry.
You're doing it like Kermit the Frog.
Is that like an Irish thing?
Kermit the Frog?
Dermot the Frog. Kermit.
Dermot, yeah, that makes more sense.
See you at rehearsal, okay?
See you Saturday.
Boys.
Thank you.
Later, Jamie Dornan.
There you go. That's how they're doing the promos over there, just like us. All right. I guess that's it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. We'll be back tomorrow at our normal time. Spread the word, like, follow, subscribe, drop a little something in the Cash App or the Venmo if you want to subscribe. It's not subscribe. We don't subscribe. If you want to help support this kind of talk radio, the kind of talk radio that happens every day, and blah, 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 shaking my can. All right, folks. We'll be back tomorrow. I think tomorrow's going to be a noon show. I don't have anything on the docket for in the morning or any phone calls or any Skype sessions that I need to do. So let's do that. Let's make it a plan. Let's rally back here tomorrow, and we'll see you then. All right, bye.